Good morning, everyone. Okay, good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to the January 9th, 2024 Board of Supervisors. This is a special board meeting, amended. So if you didn't get the correct copy, there should be some in the back table there. My name is David Goldenberg, and I will be the chair of the board for 2024. And I've asked Supervisor Brandon to lead us in the pledge. All right, so before we proceed right into the meeting, as the incoming chair, I just wanted to do a couple of things. First of all, I'd ask for Supervisor Half to please come over here. I'll try and keep the microphone here. So, as everybody's aware, Supervisor Half was our chair last year, and we have a little gift. I just want to offer my personal thanks for everything you did as chair, and I know the rest of the board really appreciated your work, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I was very humbled to be the board chair in 2023 to serve not only the board but our constituents and the whole community. And I look forward to you being chair now. It is a lot of responsibility, and I feel lighter not having that responsibility anymore, but it was quite rewarding, and it'll go down as a highlight of part of my 4-year term. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you again. All right. There's a few things that I just want to go over. So I'm the chair. Supervisor Brandon is the vice chair this year. And I'd just like, if you could indulge me, please take a few moments of your time. As you probably have noticed, we have a little reconfiguration. Our board clerk, who formerly was sitting down here with her back to the audience, is Heather Ryan is now up here. And I also decided as chair to go with this layout so that I can easily look down at my other board members. A little different configuration as people come to the podium. That's natural to kind of look straight ahead, but I'm over here as chair if you're addressing me. These changes I felt were not only logical, but they were functional. Heather does a great job. I certainly appreciate everything that she does. Our meetings would not go nearly as smoothly without her. So thank you very much. We also added some, as people come in, like the presentation table now has a second microphone, which we didn't have before. It's portable. We also have another microphone held in the back if needed. We can put in service depending on different meetings. And we've got extra microphone over here at with our CAO and County Council. One of the things my predecessor, Supervisor Half, started her meetings talking about kindness and, the need to do that. I fully concur with that. Kindness really includes respecting others. There's a lot of different things going on in our world nowadays. We've got differing opinions. Sometimes we can become upset. Sometimes we might be angry. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't treat each other with respect. When I look at respect, one of the ways that I describe it is treat somebody in the manner that you would hope that they would treat you or your family members. And if we keep that thought in mind, I think life's a better place. The simple, act of doing that. As people, come up to speak, at the podium, A lot of times I realize, the people sometimes are very nervous, especially if it's their first time. That's understandable. When you come up, you can adjust that microphone down, step right up to the podium, and our members of the public and staff should be addressing the board and not turning to individual staff members, as the case may be. As normal, nothing's changed, right? Generally, we're going to have 3 minutes, during oral communications when speaking. Be mindful of the timer. After a couple of minutes, you'll hear a tone go off, and that's your warning that you're going to need to start wrapping it up. Because when the next tone comes on, it's time for you to just please return to your seat. One thing, that we've had some issues with in the past, and I'd like to just put it out coming from me as board chair, is that when you come up to the podium, you are, of course, allowed to speak on many different things. Whether or not some people might not appreciate it, that's fine. It's your right, to get up there and do that. When you're speaking during oral communications, though, it cannot be anything to do with items that are on the agenda for that day. And so there's been, at times, a tendency, somebody will get up and they'll kind of go astray a little bit. And, so I'll give a reminder, if I see that occurring. I'll only do it once. And if the, person does that again, I'll ask them to please be seated. So I'm just kind of laying out a couple of things so you know ahead of time. We want everybody to have the opportunity to speak and to definitely keep it civil. As far as our board itself, we're going to continue with what we've been doing, using our general format here. Items presented, board members ask clarifying questions, public comment would go next, then it would return to the board, additional questions and or comments, and depending where we're sitting, somebody's going to make a motion if that's proper, if that's part of the case. Not all things require a motion, of course. So, in closing here, I would be remiss if I didn't give recognition to all of our employees within the county of Tuolumne. Quite frankly, they're the glue that holds this organization together. Any organization with a lot of people, we've got 650 plus people, there's challenges. And are we all perfect? No. But certainly they're all trying very hard. They're working very hard. On your behalf, they're supporting the board. So they have my admiration, for the work that they do. And the final thing that I'll say is, to our public, the Tuolumne County employees, all the board members, Happy New Year, 2024. I hope that it's a wonderful, safe, and healthy year for everyone. So, with that said, thanks, and let's get started with the meeting. So, first item here will be oral communications. So, does any member of the public have any item that they want to speak to that is not on the agenda? If so, please come up to the podium. Now's your time to do so. Good morning.
Good morning and Happy New Year, everyone. Chairman Goldenberg, welcome. I hope this is easier than fighting fires. How's everyone doing with their New Year's resolutions? Mine is exceedingly easy so far because I haven't started yet. But according to Google, the first New Year's resolution date back to the ancient Babylonians over 4,000 years ago. The Babylonians would make resolutions to their gods, but they probably didn't make any promises to exercise more, save more money, or start a new hobby. The Babylonians usually pledged their loyalty to the king and made promises to pay their debts and return borrowed items to their rightful owners. They believed that if they kept their resolutions, the gods would treat them favorably that year, but if they broke their promises, they would get on the bad side of the gods. Lamentations 3:40 says, "Let us test and examine our ways and return to the Lord." The Bible is filled with other verses about renewing ourselves and being born again as a new person. So I think Google got it wrong about the Babylonians. I think God created resolutions, not the Babylonians. I also think he's on board with us constantly engaging in the process. We don't need to wait until the new year. We can resolve to be a little bit better than we were the day before every day. However, unlike the Babylonians who were hoping to gain favor from their gods, you cannot resolution your way into a favorable relationship with the God of the Bible. With God, his favor is a free gift. You only have to accept it. You can't earn it. So then why even bother with resolutions? To improve your life? To improve someone else's life? How about just to do what is right? For me, I just look to God for where I need to improve. I truly believe that he knows what is best for my life, and he has given me the perfect example in Jesus. So I just try to do what he wants and resolve to be more like Jesus. But I will fail, so I need help. Heavenly Father, thank you for putting the desire to improve ourselves into all of us. Clearly, I need a little help to get going with my latest resolution, and I trust that you will help me to do that. I pray that the people of this county are having more success than I am, and if not, I hope that you will help them too. I also pray that you would continue to help us find ways to do better as we go through the year, and when we encounter defeats, that we lean on you for help, and when we experience success, that we glorify you for it. As for the new year, Lord, I ask you to give us strength, wisdom, and perseverance. There is much work to be done. There will be failures and successes. May you guide us and help us to get the things done that you believe will be best for our county and for ourselves. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Is there any other members of the public that would like to speak? Please come forward. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Goldenberg. Good morning to the County of Tuolumne Corporation. I'm John Flynn, your political watchdog. Take a bite out of crime. I think you're all crooks anyways. So, we have Jar Brandon and Ryan Campbell. You two were at a special board meeting September 25th, 2023. And Jar Brandon and Ryan Campbell, you're both throwing down satanic hand signs, triangles. And after the meeting, after I get through talking, I hope you can address this. And Jar Brandon, your bio states you belong to both Alpha Tau Omega and Sigma Chi, whatever. They have Masonic roots, as do many other fraternities. Can you confirm or deny, after I'm speaking, any affiliations with the Freemasons or any other group that requires a secret oath? Now, this all can be backed up with Ty Robin has a Facebook called Tuolumne County Scandal. Check it out. That's Facebook. Okay. Ryan Campbell and Jar Brandon, there is no copy of your loyalty oath under the California Constitution, Article 20, Section 3, on file with the recorder, Debbie Bautista. Why? That's required, by the way. California Government Code Section 1463, a government crime insurance policy or employee dishonesty insurance policy, including faithful performance, subject to approval by the presiding judge of the Superior Court and recorded in filings provided in Section 1457. 1457, government bonds of an officer of a county and shall approved by the presiding judge of the Superior Court, recorded in the office of the county clerk's office. No bonds for any of the Board of Supervisors. That's been verified now. Now we're going to go into title codes. Falsifying a record. It is a crime under state and federal statutes for a. Okay, I get that. For to falsify or otherwise tamper with public records with the purpose of deceiving or injuring anyone or to conceal any wrongdoing. See Title 18 United States Code Action.
Thank you.
2-0, all right.
Thank you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to address the board, and my compliments to the board in general, and the new configuration I think is a good idea. I want to talk about Standard Road. I don't know how that happened, traffic mitigation fees, TUD, county, maybe a cooperative thing, but Standard Road is cool. The street lights that are going to go in, the sidewalks, so forth, that's a good thing. Tuolumne Road, on the other hand, the sandpaper highway is a bad situation. The reason I know so much about Standard is that's the way I come from Bluebell, go through Standard, and don't go on that highway anymore because it was ruined. It is terrible. You probably already heard this because I'm a little late in the game to come to you, but it's got to change. It's got to not happen again because chip-sealed major highways is ridiculous. I want to talk about EVs, electrical vehicles, battery-operated vehicles in particular. I think that we are making a mistake to come alongside the federal government, the state government, anyone who says that EVs are a good idea and that all of us need them. Whoever can afford them, by the way. So I put in solar panels on my roof, $35,000, bought an EV, $75,000. I don't know who else can afford that other than someone who's retired with a good income. I'm sure young people cannot. They cannot afford it, but they can't afford the charging cycle. I have experienced the problem of trying to keep the thing charged up. I can't imagine going on a trip. You're going on a trip, you got to plan 2 or 3 hour increments along the way to recharge your vehicle. You guys got to think about this. This is stupid. You cannot stand along with them and say, we like it. Therefore, the Climate Action Plan. The Climate Action Plan is not only arrogant to say you're going to tell people how to run their lives and that you're going to control the climate through that and that you know what's going to happen in a few years, but we got to stop doing that. The Climate Action Plan is not going to be good if, especially whoever's going to go out and advise the farmer on buying a 200,000 plus battery operated tractor and how they're going to use that, how they're going to keep it charged to do the work. You got to believe me, this is all ridiculous and you have to rethink the Climate Action Plan. CO2 is actually good. CO2 makes things grow, makes the forest grow, makes our gardens grow, makes the orchard grow. If you think that CO2 is bad, then go back to 9th grade biology and find out how plants grow, using the sun and using CO2 and then putting off oxygen, which we love. I think you got to rethink some of the stuff and stop meddling in the business of stuff that doesn't concern you, like this gender identity or other bullshit. Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak? And I'd like to remind the audience too is please be careful of the language that you use in this boardroom.
It's clear that several board members in the last 2 boards have been in close relationship with Golden State Financial Authority, which went from a housing authority to a natural resource authority in Placer County between 2016 and 2021. During that same time, millions of dollars were offered by benevolent people, one being the Sierra Nevada Conservancy offered $22 million to build a biomass plant. But unfortunately, the board, which has been in contact with these people, didn't perform in 2 years. And in the end, the CEO came on a magical mystery tour, and the support was given to 2 Tuolumne County oligarchs down at J59, one that wanted to sell a piece of obsolete property, and the other, with a burning ban coming less than a year now, they're going to be sending hundreds of thousands of tons up to Tuolumne County because they won't burn it because it's dangerous for the people down there. Golden State had a meeting down at the Chicken Ranch Casino, which gave me pause, and a month later I saw why. They're combining with another tax grab outfit, Yosemite Clean Energy, And you can call them, and they won't, just like Golden State, they won't say anything. It's a proprietary process. Can't tell who's buying the feedstock. Well, who can tell me? Well, it's a former board member who is a representative in Tuolumne County. Now at the meeting, you had to be there. In the back, my supervisor was in the back taking care of quietly his own business. In the other corner is a couple of families who are down there who for 10 years have had 24-hour incessant grinding sounds, smoke that, when the wind's right, burns your lungs. It's because American wood fiber was put in without any environmental requirements, and its predecessor also. And you gave them that right. Now, at the meeting, there's not going to be industrial wood pellet. That's not going to happen going to Asia. SPI would be doing that. They won't tell you where the $339 million is coming from, and the Forest Service can't build facilities with a 20-year agreement. In the other corner of the building was a gentleman, the CEO was so poor performing at the two prior meetings, this was by invitation only, that he didn't even come. Must be a family member. There's a number of young people with iPads walking around trying to look busy, been on the payroll for 4 or 5 years. I'd like to know where that money came from. But after the meeting broke up and all the lies and the deception and the stonewalling, people were walking out mumbling, and a guy gets up and he steps out and he goes, wait, this is too big to fail. You did that. You gave them and cut your responsibilities. You gave them the right to do this. None of this is going to happen. And you want to read on green
Thank you.
biomass to hydrogen.
Are there any other members of the public who like to speak? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Good morning. It's been 3 years today. We started one pile at a time. We've cleaned up over 5,000 yards of trash in our county. What I'm here for today is I'm still seeing it. Obviously, I mean, we know that there's not an end to it. I get it. What I'm looking for today is I need a workable agreement with you guys. We had a workable agreement when we first started out. Jim retired. After Jim retired, the agreement went downhill. We were taking the 25 yards a month we were allowed to have was taken away from us. Now there's a bunch of stipulations on it. Part of those stipulations I understand. We're not going to, Tuolumne County is not responsible for private properties. But the way some of our roads are designed, we have big pullouts right off the sides of the road. Solid Waste tells me we're somewhere between 10 and 15 feet off the fog line is what you guys are responsible for. We got Big Hill Road. They dump it right off the side of the road, and then it goes down the hills from animals and whatnot. They're telling me that we can't use the Tuolumne County allocated dumps that we just went through the big process with Solid Waste for. I need some type of workable agreement to be able to get this done. The county property, obviously, we're willing to go in and clean up. We're looking at going and cleaning up the Sullivan Creek Bridge over by the Peppery. We just finished up in September cleaning up Elsie's Pond. It was a 700-foot skyline that we hauled out the trash on. Sorry, I get a little excited over it. It's pretty emotional for me. I was just down at the Sullivan Creek Bridge. Sullivan Creek Bridge is 70 to 80 yards of trash, literally in the creek. This has been there for 3 years at minimum. Nothing has been done. This isn't being contracted out to somebody. It's just being literally left there to sit. We lost 30 yards of trash, went into Lake Don Pedro last year from last year's rains, from the Elsie's Pond. We don't want to see it happen again. Rawhide Bridge, same thing. We're going to be having those same issues. Sooner you can get them out of there, sooner I can get in there and clean it up. I won't go in there with people living there, but I will go clean it up. Please, help me with this. Help me get the funds to be able to take care of the dump fees. You know what? That's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking for much. So I really appreciate everything you guys have done for us. But a little bit of a workable agreement to be able to get some of these roadside areas cleaned up that fall just out of the legal ways for you guys to be able to take care of that. That's all I'm asking for. So I thank you guys for all your help. Appreciate it. You guys have a wonderful year.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Okay, seeing none, I will close oral communications at this time and look to for staff reports. Do we have staff that would like to present this morning? So please come up.
Good morning, I'm Kelly Schroeder, your Tuolumne County Agricultural Commissioner. Today I have the 2022 crop report. We always do a crop report a year behind, and I held it till January because we also have a 2024 calendar in the back that features some of our agricultural growers here in the county. So the 2022 value of the agricultural commodities produced in Tuolumne County is estimated at $30,923,681. The top commodity was livestock and poultry at $16,472,935. The second commodity was timber at $10,208,021. And I would wish to express my appreciation to the ag producers, the organizations, and public agencies that have cooperated in providing data for our crop report. I would also like to express my sincere thank you to my ag commissioner staff who compiled the report, and to Anna Genesi, who designed our crop report and calendar for this year. Thank you. There's also ones, that was why I was hesitating. I knew there's something else. There's calendars and crop reports in the back for the public as well.
Okay, if we could get one for the board clerk. Good. Thank you. Okay. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, board. My name's Sean. I'm with Animal Control, and I just wanted to give a little recap of our 2023 year. We responded to 4,396 calls for service. We cared for 1,231 animals at our shelter. We adopted 94 animals from our facility. We returned 215 animals to their owners, and we transferred 780 animals to other rescues or locations. All of our staff has received CPR training. Our staff also received Narcan training and Narcan dosages for the field, basically, from public health, since all of that new legislation has gone through. We've been maintaining our standards regarding animal health within our shelter and public safety within our field operations, even though we are at pretty minimal staffing and we've had a big influx to our call volume. Our kennel department staff has received 2 promotions in 2023, and animal control officers have received 3 promotions to more senior positions. And we've also participated in a variety of events in 2023. We did the Motherlode Fair, National Night Out, the Polar Plunge, the Badges and Hoops, Tip-A-Cop, a lot of homeless outreach, Community Roots event, public safety and fire meetings. And we also had an animal control officer that created and conducted an animal safety class intradepartmentally, so like to some of our departments that work in the field. And go places within the county. And then we also started doing and have done numerous Wilco adoption events in 2023 where we adopted animals and worked at Wilco to do that. So I just wanted to share some of the accomplishments for 2023 for our department. So I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Some pretty impressive numbers that you guys are going through. Good morning.
Good morning, Kim Freeman, your health officer. I'm here today to give you a little update on what we've been doing with what's called a Community Health Needs Assessment or Community Health Assessment. We call it CHA. The purpose of the CHA is to identify the community's health status priorities and gaps. It provides through a comprehensive review of local health data and community input. We look at health status indicators such as chronic disease rates and health resource availability to come up with a health needs assessment. In the past, it has been done in conjunction with the hospital and other community-based organizations. So the most recent Adventist Health CHA that was published in late 2022 was used to springboard onto what we use for public health and priorities. And also to limit their data was their whole footprint, included surrounding counties. We limited our data to our own county. The supplement that we're providing builds upon that with our own data. Our top 3 priorities that were found with this process were access to care, health risk behaviors, and chronic health conditions. So the next step is to produce a community health improvement plan, or a CHIP. We'll be doing this process with meeting with stakeholders and with the community. Our first meetings will start next month. We'll be developing attainable interventions that address the identified priorities through these series of meetings. There is also an online survey that will be available hopefully later this week, if not early next week. The handout I just gave you has a QR code to the supplement, so you can view what our report says, and I'll have some at the back as well. We plan to provide an annual report coming forward this spring, including the CHA CHIP process this time, which is something we do every 5 years, and an annual report thereafter on the causes of morbidity and mortality in the county, as well as disparities in health outcomes. We wish to thank all of the community and the stakeholders that have provided input so far, and all of our staff that have worked so diligently on this, and we look forward to the rest of the process to come up with a CHIP. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Board. My name is Robbie Bergstrom with Tuolumne County Economic Development, and I am here to inform the public that on Thursday, January 18th at 5:30, we will be holding an economic development meeting in Twainhart at the Twainhart Community Center. And this is to discuss anything and everything that they feel, that the community feels will bring economic development to the area. There is a draft plan that has been written after some discussions with members of the community, which is also included with the information that I'll be posting online. Anyone who attends the meeting is welcome to comment on the draft plan if they feel that it is accurate, if they feel that there should be changes made, or if they feel it's completely off base. All is welcome in the discussion. So again, Thursday, January 18th at 5:30, and that is at the Twainhart Community Center. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other staff members to report? Okay. Seeing none, we'll close the staff reports section, and I'll look to the Board of the Clerk to read the consent calendar, please.
Item number 1, finding that a summary of ordinance numbers 3443 and 3444 was published on December 22, 2023 in the Union Democrat as required by law. Item number 2, approving the reappointment of John Latorre to the Board of Supervisors Solid Waste Committee for a term to expire January 9, 2026. Item number 3, approving the California Children's Services CCS program annual certification statement required by the Department of Health Care Services, DHCS, for fiscal year 2023-2024, and authorizing the board chair to sign. Item number 5, approving the resignation of Mary Ann Schmidt from the Tuolumne County Behavioral Health Advisory Board, and request the clerk of the board to send a letter of appreciation and post a notice of vacancy. Item number 5, approving out-of-state travel for Supervisor Goldenberg to attend the 2024 National Association of Counties NACO Legislative Conference, February 9, 2024 through February 13, 2024 in Washington, D.C., with an estimated travel expense of $2,800 included in the fiscal year 23-24 adopted budget.
Thank you. Does any board member have an item that they'd like to pull? Comments? Supervisor Brandon.
Great, thank you. Just comments on 2 items. First, I want to say thank you for taking the time to go to legislative conference as well. That's a really important space. I was able to attend last year, and I think it was very helpful, especially with broadband issues. And the second is to just thank Marianne Schmidt. She has served on the Behavioral Health Advisory Board with me for 3 years. It is an immensely complicated area. There's a lot to do with a lot of different contractors, different contracts, bidding processes. It's an immense amount of work for a volunteer to take on once a month for 2 hours to be able to learn this stuff. And under her leadership, I think it's done very well. So I just want to thank her for her time, noting her resignation will be missed.
Thank you. And Supervisor Campbell.
Yeah, just real briefly, I agree with Supervisor Brandon's comments. Had the opportunity to work with Marianne Schmidt in a number of capacities. I find her to be a very great asset to our community, and grateful for her service. And I also wanted to add to that appreciation for John Latoria, who has re-upped his service on the Solid Waste Committee. He's been very helpful on that committee as well.
Great, thank you. Supervisor Kirk?
Reiterate what they said about Marianne Schmidt. Very dedicated, so thank you for her service.
Supervisor Haft, do you have anything? All right, I echo the comments, Marianne Schmidt and John Latore. And I've worked with both of them extensively in the past, and they put in a lot of effort to help our county. Is there any public comment on the consent calendar?
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. I want to personally thank and recognize Marianne for her invaluable membership of the Mental Health Advisory Board. Over the past, actually nearly 4 years, she was rounding out. Her commitment and passion breathed new life into the board and gave us a new pathway to renewed purpose. As a chairman, her dedication, and I know we have countless hours that she put forth organizing and motivating the board, and for the first time set goals for the board in almost a decade. While we'll miss her leadership, I'm confident that the remaining members will carry on the valuable contributions that she initiated. So thank you, Marianne.
Very good, thank you. Any other comment on the consent calendar? Okay, I'll bring it back to the board. If there's any additional comments, and if not, I'll look for a motion.
Chair, I'll move that we approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
So I have a motion by Supervisor Campbell, second by Supervisor Brandon. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Carries unanimously 5-0. I think at this point we'll take a 10-minute break before we get started with the next item. I anticipate we'll have pretty good discussion there. Thank you. Okay, welcome back. Sorry for the slight delay there, getting everybody corralled back up here. So, moving on the agenda, we are now going to go to our 9 a.m. appointments. And Clerk of the Board, if you can read the 9 a.m. one, please.
As the Air Pollution Control Board, 9 a.m. 1, public hearing to consider adopting the Air Pollution Control District fiscal year 2023-2024 budget.
Very good. So, Kelly, you're on.
Good morning. Again, I'm Kelly Schroeder. I'm also the Tuolumne County Air Pollution Control Officer. So today we're conducting our public hearing to adopt the Air Pollution Control District 23-24 budget.
Yeah, if we can pause just for one moment, I'll open the public hearing. Thank you. Please, go ahead.
So on December 19th, 2023, your board conducted a public hearing to review the 23-24 Air Pollution Control District budget and to receive comments from the public. The California Health and Safety Code sections 40130 and 40131 requires a second hearing to adopt the budget. This hearing is to adopt the budget for 23-24, and our budget was formally adopted in the county budget on June 30th, 2023. So our recommendation is that your board, after conducting the public hearing, adopt the Air Pollution Control District fiscal year 23-24 budget.
Okay, very good. Do any board members have questions of staff regarding this item? Okay, seeing none. And to clarify, do we go straight into public comment here first? So call for public comment on the 9 a.m. one regarding the Air Pollution Control District budget. Okay, seeing none. Close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for any final comments or questions. And if not, we'd look for a motion to approve this budget.
If there are not any questions or comments, I'm ready to make a motion.
Please.
We've closed the public hearing, right?
Yes.
Okay. I move to adopt the Air Pollution Control District fiscal year 23-24 budget.
Second.
So a motion by Supervisor Half, seconded by Supervisor Brandon to approve the budget. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstains? Carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Got the budget. Thanks. Okay, I'm going to, regarding our 9 a.m. 2 appointment, I'm going to ask the board clerk to address this. She has some information to share. Please.
So for the item, as the Board of Equalization, 9 a.m. item 2, public hearing consideration of application of RA Timber Hills LLC, care of Ross Stores Inc. for changed assessment number 12-2021 for roll year 2021. Your clerk of the board's office has received an official withdrawal from the applicant. Therefore, this item is pulled and your board will not need to conduct a hearing today.
Okay, very good. We've been kind of chasing this one for a while now, but it was pulled, so we'll act upon it later if it comes back to us. Thank you. Moving back then, we should be on item 6. If you could please read item 6.
Happy to. Item number 6, discussion and direction on the design of the Yaney Avenue Building Board Chambers, continued from December 12, 2023.
Very good. Lomo, so I think you have some information to share with us.
Oh, I do. I always do. And then they're on? Perfect. Yeah. Okay. On with me today is Lionaka's team, Brandon Roca and Ben Vargas. There you go. The gentlemen are on. So before you today, for your consideration, is staff is asking for discussion and direction on the design of the Yaney Avenue building. And specifically, we're looking at the board chambers. This will be the third time this item has been before you. So I'm not going to go into a lot of the background of this item. I'm just going to go straight into the discussion that we would like to have with you today. In previous meetings, your board has basically settled on the design of the first floor, the second floor, and the mezzanine levels of the Yaney building to be used as admin offices for the county council and the county administrator's office. Up for discussion today for us is really the third floor and how you want to use the old courtroom into a board chambers. First of all, your board needs to decide if you want to utilize that room as a board chambers. And if you do, then we need to talk about how we're going to utilize that room and give direction to staff in regards to what the layout needs to be. Just as a reminder, we're roughly 2.5 months behind the schedule that we had set out with the architects, and that's just where we are, and it has consequences, just so you know. So in that, as the capital projects director for the county, I've learned real quickly, construction is really a matter of all about compromises. And it always is and always will be. It's a balance between form and function. And in this case, for the building that we're talking about, the form comes in the framework of the historical features of the room. The discussion thus far, you need to know, has been kept at a really high level, and we haven't talked about the materials, the look, the feel of the room. But you need to know that staff is very aware of it and has been told repeatedly that you want to be able to ensure that we keep as creatively as we can, once we figure out the layout, as much as historical features, fixtures, colors as possible. But that's not the level. That's another level that we'll get to at another date. What we really are trying to figure out today is the layout. How, if you want to use that room for board chambers, and if you do, to start the discussion, in your board memo, there were several questions that staff is looking direction on. And if you indulge me just real quickly, the questions include, do you want to keep the center section of the judge's bench and incorporate that into the board dais? Do you want to eliminate or keep the jury box? Do you want the board dais configuration to look like what is represented in the three options before you that was included in your board memo? Do you want to keep all of the wooden seats, or do you want to keep just some of the wooden seats that are currently there in the board chambers? Do you want to remove all the seating for staff at tables inside the board chambers, or do you want staff and Lionakis to look at some configuration of putting some tables in the room as we contemplate the layout? And the last question is, do you want to keep the whole wall between what's now the jury room and the courtroom? So that would be the proposed board chambers and the conference room that's being proposed. As I said, staff is online for us, and they and I are available to answer any questions you may have. I'm going to ask them to, they have the three layouts that are included in your board package that they can put up on the screens. We also have available, that we used in the last meeting, a camera system called Matterport. And so if you would like us to go and zoom into a portion of the room, either the jury room or the proposed board chambers, we can. So they're at your discretion. Just ask us and we will get to whatever layout you want to do. There are copies for anyone in the public of these three options in the back of the room on the table if any of you would like to see what's going to be shown on the screens. And with that, I will leave it to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, so I'll look to the board members first. Does anybody have any qualifying questions that they'd like to ask at this time? Supervisor Hath.
Yeah, I'd like to ask that you just briefly go over the three diagrams. They're very small in our packet and probably on the table for everybody.
Sure, absolutely. So let's do that. So Brandon, if you can make, that's option number 1 on the screen right now. Can you make it bigger so it encompasses the whole screen? That would be great. Thank you.
Is that better?
Yeah, it is. Thank you. So in option 1, you have here the incorporating the, it shows the courtroom with the, right now it's showing removable chairs, but those can be, if we were to, so for example, right now, if we were to do and incorporate there's currently 65 wooden chairs over there right now. What you see on the diagram right now is removable chairs. There's approximately, in this diagram, 55 chairs. Just as a side note, there's probably, what did we decide, about 55 chairs once we do the AV section, Brandon?
Correct. Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
with the 65 that's there.
Right. We're not moving the rail.
Taking
It's
up
not
space
right.
of about 6 for AV and then some space for the lectern. So we've removed 10
for
rough, areas
Right.
for seats.
Yeah. So in this plan, again, you have the removable seats, but you could have the wooden seats in there. There's a lectern up front. We left it's kind of a railing pony wall up in the current location that it is right now. You have 4 tables. Those are training table sizes. They're not full size tables. One can be utilized for presentations, the other 3 for county staff. And then you have a dais in which all 5 of you are up at a raised level. It's not going to be as high as the current judges' benches is right now. With to make ADA accommodations, there's a ramp to get up to the raised area, and the board members and the clerk of the board and county council and the CAO are also on that raised level. We have in this option 1 kept the wall in total as it is right now to the proposed conference room. As you can see in the conference room layout, there's a table that can be in there. And then what we've done is taken out the 2 bathrooms that are off that and made it as a storage closet for tables and chairs or whatever we needed. So that's basically option number 1. Any questions before I move on?
I have a question just about
Supervisor Campbell.
It applies to this, and I think all of them. So,
Okay.
yeah, I was a little confused about what that symbol was so as we're looking at it from this angle, yeah, right where you're looking at. So that's an ADA access ramp to the upper, to the level of the bench.
That's correct.
Is that by code? Because what I'm thinking
Yes.
is there's ADA access through the offices through the back to the dais. So why is the ramp necessary?
There is not. There is, if you were to go from where
So
the proposed,
there's a step
yeah,
there?
right there, to
There's a
go through
step.
that door. Sorry, I'm sorry, Supervisor Campbell. I'm watching the arrow on the screen. So as you go through the door and you go to the ramp, you have to go all the way around to get to the ramp and up. One of the questions that has been asked of me is, why can't we just put the ramp, Brandon, can you move the arrow just down a little bit, right there and go towards the door? There's not enough length in that area to get the required minimum minimum slope that I need for that ramp. So I can't put that ramp perpendicular to that wall. Correct, Brandon? Am I saying it?
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're correct.
Okay.
So the red box that you see on the screen there is the current jury box. And so when you take into account both ADA and circulation requirements by code, we don't have enough room to keep the jury box there under this configuration.
Right, but what I'm saying is, so there's a door to the bottom right where you can access from the offices.
That's correct.
So why can't that be just brought up to the level of the dais, and so you can walk out of the offices, just like this door here? It's at a elevated level.
You have a step there. So with the
So we can't
Brandon,
do that.
correct me if I'm wrong. Sorry, I'm trying to answer you. So I'm assuming with the angles and stuff, we don't have enough room to get the minimum elevation requirements because of the angles.
Correct. When we are looking at trying to fit everything in here and trying to put a ramp here, it really pinches whichever board members would be sitting here. We've also looked at trying to put it over here, but then that starts to interfere with Tracy, Moe, and Heather's places.
Oh, sorry. Right.
Okay,
Okay.
understand.
Any other questions on option 1 before we move forward? Okay, if you can bring the next one up, please.
Sure. So Brandon, can you pull up option 2? Great, thank you. So in option 2, you basically see the same layout as far as the dais and the ramp. The jury box in this example has been taken out. What we have done in this example is taken out, I would say, about a little less than half of the wall that was between the jury room and the courtroom, if you will, and added more chairs in this area. We have, Brandon, remind me, did we move up that railing to get more chairs in?
Correct.
Yeah, we moved up in this example, we have moved up the railing so it sits further in the room, closer to the dais or the front of the room. And then we only have one table for presentation in that. And then we moved all the staff tables. There's 2 staff tables in the back of the room. The closet for chairs and tables are still in the back of the room. This depicts movable chairs, but if it's your board's preference to leave wooden chairs in there, we can do that. And then just add additional chairs in the back. So do you have any questions on?
Any questions, Supervisor? Let's go Supervisor Brandon first.
Sure, thank you. Just to space them out, I think this applies potentially to all of them. I wanted to just ask about the jury box on the different designs and why. So on the one side, we kind of have our similar setup here, where we may have legal counsel, CAO, deputy CAO. In these, the jury boxes on the other side, I know it's kind of up in the air. Do we want to maintain that where it is or not? It seems to be a large enough area. Why wouldn't those be combined into one, and where staff would be, it's roughly at the same level as the judge's dais, and it's about a similar sized kind of box for those 3 individuals if the seats were removed.
Okay, so if I'm understanding correctly, what I heard is you're looking at then shifting the dais over to, if you will, just to the left-hand side a little bit, removing Heather, Sarah, and Tracy's area, that wing, and you would leave in the jury box as far as the outline of the jury box, take out the step that's in the jury box and just make it a flat area, and you would move the 3 of those staff members into the jury box. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I'm just curious on the why not adaptively reuse at least everything basically but the chairs within that space for the staff that need to be up near the board? I think you covered it, yeah.
I'm trying to eye it right now, and I'm going to have to lean on my architects. If I was just eyeing it right now, I don't know if you have enough room moving that whole dais section over as much as you can to the left and still continue to have the ramp there, and being able to keep the jury box there for, you got to remember, we need to have egress in and out from where the board members' offices are, clear and free, and people on the dais to be able to move freely either to the board offices or, if they needed to in an emergency, move and go out the door. I guess, Brandon, do you have any widths that you could pull up and help me with that?
Yeah, so with that idea, if I'm hearing it right, these individuals would start to move over into where the jury box is. We could pick this whole thing up, slide it over, and if you really wanted to, we could slide it all the way over against the wall. It'd be really off center of the room, but I think the jury box could be repurposed with that concept.
Well, if I could add to that, we do have a ramp there, the ramp being just on the other side. The goal, not so much, I mean, obviously it's a 3 on one side, 3 on the other. What I guess I'm asking about is, would they fit on there to be able to preserve as much of the jury box as we can, and just move the ramp to the other side?
No, that's not.
You're not you don't have the width. If you move the ramp to their side, then you've got to move the dais over, and then you're into the red box, which is the jury box.
Yes, the width of this ramp is about the same width that you have here. So as you can see, if we did chop this off, move the ramp over, you only have like maybe 2 feet between here, which would be kind of a tight and definitely not ADA accessible pathway.
Okay.
Other board members? Supervisor Campbell.
Yeah, and just so I have 2 questions. One kind of based off of where Supervisor Brandon was going. And again, we're talking about the ramp. It's a question I think I know the answer to, but can the ramp, does it have to be fixed in place and built into the structure, or can it be movable?
It can be movable.
It can?
Yeah.
Or cannot?
So
Okay.
it can. So for example, at your CRCs, we have a stage that comes down. It's not down all the time. And so for those purposes, we opted to make the room as flexible as possible. We opted for a portable one, but now we're going to get into our building official. If I'm channeling him, that ramp always has to be in that room, available, ready to go. So the ramp has to be somewhere in that room if at all needed.
Just keep it in Anaya's office.
There you go, the big office that we have for all the supervisors. There you go.
Okay, so that's good. The other question I had was related to the bar. So there's 3 versions here. This is the previous one is the one where the bar has been moved forward. That was something that we've discussed a number of times to preserve the original seating that's there, but also add ADA accessible seating in the balance between the distance between the bar and the original seating.
Right, that's correct.
Because when you've been in that room, where the audience or the spectators sit in relation to the bar is quite far back.
A distance, right.
And so just by moving that forward, which, it's screwed down with wood screws, so
it's easy to remove move.
It's not hard built into the floor, so moving it wouldn't be too difficult, but that would resolve, in my mind, the space for ADA seating without having to change what's already there.
That's correct. So just to be clear.
My question was, could we cherry pick that detail?
Yes, you can cherry pick that.
If we don't like this particular design, but we like that element, can we cherry pick into one of the others? Okay.
That's why these are called options. So you guys can look at these different things, and that's why staff was asking those questions, because there's, again, form versus function. So it's a matter of decisions. So as you look at these features and stuff, the board is more than able to choose any one of them, and that's why I had the architects on standby here, so we can look at it and they can tell me yes or no, it will work. Just know that we will have to take out, it depends on what we do. We need to make, as you just mentioned, Supervisor Campbell, some accommodations for ADA, but we also probably, depending on how we do this, might need to take out 1 or 2 of the wooden chairs just to be able to fit the podium and a ADA space around the podium. Just so you know.
Well,
I'm saying if you...
I guess part of, and not to go into, we can talk about it later, but not to go into too much detail, but in my mind, the purpose of moving the bar forward is that you're creating the space for the lectern and ADA seating. Without having to remove those.
Right, I will need to, we will do our best to, if that's the wishes of the board, we will do our best, the architects and myself, to keep as many chairs as possible in that front row. I don't know right now until I do some exact measurements. Whatever you decide, I need to be able to get an idea of the layout from you, and then I can tell you yes or no definitively. But yes, we can keep as many chairs as we possibly can.
Supervisor Cook.
Yeah, Mo, my one question that comes to mind real quick that I didn't think of earlier. On options 1 and 3, I'm going to point it out real quick. I'm just going to point it out.
Sure. So he just switched to 1, just so you know. Yes.
So those chairs, tables if we were to go with option 1 or 3, is that for staff?
Yes, those are
Okay.
for staff. So one of them, Supervisor Kirk, is for presentation.
Okay.
And then because you always, like, for example, this table has been very beneficial for staff to be able to, or your consultants to come in and sit with a laptop and be able to make presentations. Usually the presentations before you include more than one person. So it's nice to be able to have one presentation table besides your podium.
Okay. And the reason why, this is a little bit of a question comment, but the reason why I bring it up is when I look back at this room, we have staff in the back. A lot of them are here all day working, waiting for their turn. And I don't want to mess up some of that. So in these options 1 through 3, I don't see maybe an option where maybe they could still be in the board chambers in the back working, except for maybe option 3, because does option 3 put them all up front?
Right.
Which is kind of a...
That's true. So again,
Okay.
your decision, and I don't know what I've heard in the previous meetings before you is there has been a preference to have seating for the public, and I haven't heard a preference for making sure that there's room for staff at tables.
Okay.
So we can, again, it's all about options. It depends on what you want to do. That is something that you need to consider.
I'm sure we'll get into that.
Yep.
Comments in a little bit. Okay, I just wanted
Okay.
to make sure I was clear on those tables. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Supervisor Haft, do you have any questions? I don't have any questions at this time. I'd like to receive public comment before we go. So we'll open it up for public comment at this time. Please come on up to the podium if you're...
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Sharon Maravich. I'm representing Tuolumne Heritage Committee. Lionakis has presented plans for the courtroom that are more disappointing than the last time when you voted not to tear down the wall. In their new iterations, the jury box is removed, the witness stand is removed, the fixed seating is removed, the wall is removed, and the historic one-of-a-kind judge's bench is going to be somehow submerged into a piece of furniture that becomes a dais. This space becomes a dismantled courtroom, a courtroom in absentia, a courtroom in ruins with no relevance to its purpose. Your architect has indicated that has identified the jury room and just about everything in the courtroom as being significant and character-defining features. These are things that are so special and so integral to the appearance and meaning of the courtroom that the Secretary of Interior standards, which you're going to be required to follow, state. It is not recommended to radically change a floor plan or interior spaces, including rooms, which are important in defining the overall character of a building. It is also not recommended to demolish principal walls and partitions to create new appearances. At $11 million, this project is going to take outside funding. No federal or state agency provides funds for work on National Register buildings if Secretary of Interior's policies are not followed. The courtroom was born a courtroom, and reassignment of use forever diminishes its integrity, its identity, and its significance as a space that has been part of American jurisprudence and the rule of law at the local level for 122 years, and is a reason the building's listed on the National Register. As stewards of Tuolumne County's unique and unmatched cultural heritage, it is your sworn responsibility to preserve our heritage. A makeover of the historic courtroom and associated loss of integrity, historicity, and purpose is too high a price to pay to solve space issues in the administration building and elsewhere. The Tuolumne Heritage Committee believes the way forward involves pausing to reassess what uses fit best for 2.5 floors of the courthouse and how the remaining 1/2 floor, courtroom, judges' chambers, and jury room can become a productive part of the building in other ways, such as for visitors, tourists, a meeting room, a conference room, an events venue, and so on. Additionally, it would be premature for the board to take action today, as staff has not given the Historic Preservation Review Committee an opportunity to comment on the courtroom and other changes as the county ordinance requires. We've only been asked for our advice on the elevator, and we concurred with staff. All we ask is justice for the courthouse. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public like to speak on this? Welcome.
Hello. I'm just going to agree with Anaya on the placement of the tables for the staff, and also just point out that it might be a little bit awkward from a speaker's perspective and the public to stand, and I know we're supposed to address the board, but I think it's nice to have, you know, even a side view of presenters for the presenting table, but to have to look at the back of everyone's heads before we see you, I just think is a little bit awkward, both for people speaking here and for you and for the people that are sitting at those tables trying to work. Just seems not the right placement. That's all.
Thank you. Welcome.
Happy New Year, Board. Given the decision's been made that we're not going to be holding court in that facility and it belongs to the county and we need to reuse the space and move forward into the future while we retain as much as possible as we can, I appreciate all those characteristics of this. I just wanted to probably maybe state the obvious that this space here has evolved over time to sort of a potentially an optimal function, you know, where staff's in the back working while our calendar and agenda moves on. I think we should probably learn from what's happened here, maybe say, okay, what could potentially be better if we were to do it again, but this is an evolutionary thing, and I think we could leverage potentially what you already have and try to map that into new space. Just a thought.
Thank you. Any other public comment on this? All right, I'll close public comment and bring it back to the board if you have additional questions, or we can just go through stuff. I'll start down on the far end. Kathleen, are you?
Are we supposed to say which plan we prefer at this
Well,
time?
right now, before we, and I want to go there,
Okay.
but I'd like to just get overall comments or, you know, concerns, just kind of put them out on the table here, what you're thinking, and then we'll.
My biggest concern is having some aspect of the historical nature of this courtroom be preserved, and I think I stated it in one of the last meetings. That would be to preserve the judge's chair and somehow, and that, I don't know what you call his desk, but that part of it being integrated into the rest of the dais so that it still looks like the judge's chair, but it's been expanded to include the other board members. I think that's really important. But we need flexibility in other ways that I don't see a workaround for. That's my initial comment.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Kirk.
Part of me kind of wanted to hear the rest of the supervisors go first, but
we can jump if you'd like.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm trying to be practical and I want to move this along. So I'm in favor of moving this conversation along. So I want to hear what they have to say.
Sure. Supervisor Campbell.
And I agree with the comments of my colleague Supervisor Half, and also my colleague Supervisor Kirk in the sentiment that we need to move this along. You know, whatever we come up with here, I look at examples of recent history in our county. You know, the lack of vision with respect to the Sonora Dome, for example, or the fact that we closed Tuolumne General Hospital as a county a number of years ago with no plan on how to use that space. And so here we are, you know, a couple years into having a new court in the county, and we've failed to do anything with this historic structure. So I'm very much in favor of not delaying anymore, because every minute we delay, the worse the problem gets. Leaks happen in the roof, the structure becomes less usable, and the cost for repairs becomes higher. So in that spirit, I really want to applaud and thank Mo and Lionakis for the work they've done, bringing us different iterations. I'm much more comfortable with some of what's proposed here than I was with past versions. I'll just be direct. I like, I would say in total, option one, I think meets the most of the criteria. I still have some issues with the ramp, and hopefully we can work through those. But again, that's nitty-gritty detail. The idea that we need to do something with this space is beyond question for me. We do need to do something with it. The only modification that I would make that's would be clear to you, I guess, in option one would be to make that, combine the positioning of the bar from option two with the overall layout of option one, where I see that we preserve the back wall. It has the movable seating in this design, but my understanding is that even though it's represented as movable seating, it is the original seating.
Okay.
Is what's in the design. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm talking option one.
With the exception of staff tables, removing them and moving up what I'm hearing, moving up the railing and having one presentation table in front of the railing.
And that was your idea, right?
No, I'll get into my comment a little bit.
Okay.
What I was referring to was when staff are here, sometimes staff are here all day working, right? I don't want them to be in front with the audience behind them. So my thought was, could we put some chairs, if you wanted to keep option one, could we put some chairs in the back near that wall? And then, so take some of those wooden chairs or whatever chairs, put them up front, like, let me see, like option two, move chairs up, but then with option one, keep the wall in the back with some work tables for staff.
And so that's what I agree with, is that the tables that would be right in front of the dais would be for staff presentation purposes, and that they wouldn't actually be staff working there.
Okay.
That would have to take place in another location, whether it's in the old jury conference room or somewhere else. That's another to be determined. But the idea that the bar would be moved forward to create that space for the lectern, for Americans with Disability Act seating, and then we wouldn't have to touch the original seating. And then we'd be preserving the back wall, the seating, the bar, except move forward. The dais would be modified. I think Supervisor Half had a great idea about incorporating it, and it's kind of reflected here. And then really the major concession there is the jury box. And I think we can still work through that, look at options related to the ramp. But, the idea that we need to get moving on this, I think, is overarching. So is that enough
That's enough.
clarity for me?
Yeah, the one clarification, I just really want to make sure I'm hearing what the board's desires are. So Supervisor Campbell, in regards to, we want to keep all the wooden chairs, and then that would mean no staff tables in the back, and that we would look at seating staff in either of the two conference rooms.
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Supervisor Brandon.
Great, thank you. I did have one question before I started. Want to bring up a question, kind of came from Sharon as well. We've talked broadly about identifying funding for this and seeing if there's any grants that are available. I wanted to ask, in relevance to this, we're kind of discussing what we think makes the most sense for this. But would the changes in these options affect the eligibility or potential to be able to get grants that we're also saying we might be looking for in the future?
Okay, two parts to that, two answers to your question. Staff has not looked into obtaining any grants, so I don't know all the particulars yet in regards to what would then qualify or what
Sorry, I'm
went.
just going to butt in here just because we have been looking for grants. We started when Cole was here. I've asked Robbie to look, and I've been looking. I haven't found anything right yet that qualifies, but we will continue looking. I can't answer if until we know what the changes are, if it will be substantial enough that it may inhibit us to qualify for something for, as Sharon said, maybe something for historical buildings We won't know until we know the exact changes, but we have been looking for grants. Right now, we haven't found anything that we qualify for at all at the moment, but we have been looking.
I think that covers it. And if we don't have a specific one, I understand it's probably hard to interpret.
Yeah. So just to tag on what County Administrator Riggs said, is we do, on the Lionaka staff, as part of the contract, we do have a historical architect. Brandon, am I getting his title correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so in that, as we make changes, or as we propose these changes and stuff, we are working with him to make sure that what we're doing is not significant, that we would then lose out on some of the opportunities that Tracy was talking about.
Great. Okay, thank you. So, looking at this, I agree that we need to move it forward. My philosophy on it is it's no longer a courthouse. I think Tom actually shared that very well, that the best way to preserve our history is to reuse it and make it relevant to the current times. We do not have the resources to maintain this as a museum exhibit, but I think we want to be truthful, and we've spent money in design and given direction to try and maintain as much of this building as we really can. And even though it may not be a courtroom, it's not chopped liver to make it the, head of the county, the board, supervisors' chambers. That is I think, auspicious use, even if probably none of us, maybe, who knows, but are probably going to sit in that. To be able to pass that down, that's something that is incredible. In fact, the board used to meet there a long time ago, and I'm sure that room was repurposed into an office or a meeting room, or, that's happened through the history of this building in the past as well. To some of the specifics, I think we should try to do adaptive reuse of the guts where applicable. So I think reusing the judge's bench into the dais makes sense. I think finding a practical purpose for the jury box, I'm still kind of skeptical of the answer I got on the ADA and everything, but if there's a way to be able to use that, I think we should. I think the rounded configuration with the Keystone Center makes sense. Option 2 to me makes the most sense, so that it's not too crowded for the staff that are in the front area. But I really do think we should remove the back wall. When we have a large seating capacity that is primarily, most of the meetings are like this, where we may have a smattering of folks in the room. It's for when we're going to have 60, 70, 80 people there. And having an empty kind of conference space in the back, I think, is a lower priority. So I would recommend removing that back wall to expand the room, maintaining the original wooden seats, and using that back area to have some movable seats. I do agree with Supervisor Kirk. I've thought the same. I think it's very practical to have staff being able to work in the back, setting up space for that. And I think the best way to do that would probably be to open it up. And there was one other question too. Is the dais centered in the middle of the room for these? Because it doesn't look, and I'm imagining looking at it from the front, that's going to be very odd over time.
So Brandon, can you, to me, it's not quite centered because of access issues. Is that correct? Or
Correct. Trying to get a, passageway here, building the ramp. So where the red line of the existing judges' benches, that's centered. So we're 2 feet over.
Why don't we just all use the ramp?
I'm sorry.
Not following that question.
It looks like to the right there's a section that is going to be stairs or something walking up and a ramp next to it. I don't know what the other side is.
Okay,
To the right
so
of the
right
ramp.
by the ramp, there's 2 choices for the Board of Supervisors or anyone entering or going up to the dais area. There will be a ramp and stairs.
Right.
Probably, Brandon, 2 stairs. Probably.
We're only up 6 inches, so it's going to be 1 step here.
Okay, and then on the other side,
ramp.
that's at your discretion.
Right.
We can make it where the area where there's your county council, county administrator, and clerk of the board. You can make that area a step down if you want, or we can close it off. It's up to you.
Is there a requirement to have stairs? I mean, there's a requirement to have a ramp for ADA, but there's not a requirement to also steer. So what I would recommend is, I think, and I'd recommend to my colleagues, I think it's going to look odd over time if that's not centered. There's a reason that that is centered in the room. Just eliminate the stairs and only use a ramp. I don't see an issue with that. Even if it's portable and it's a single step, then it becomes a step when you remove it. So,
Yeah, I don't think the judge's bench is centered right now, is it?
the red outline.
It's centered in the room, but it's kind of, when you look at all these lines here, it feels awkward, but if you look at that distance and that distance, it's pretty well centered in that room.
I did want to bring up two of the things that it's not just the chambers there, but I think the board offices without windows is still a concern, and we should be looking at that and figuring out a way to address it, but we don't need to spend necessarily any time on that. Did I cover all the items well?
And then some, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so my comments, and then I do want to step through this and break these down probably one by one, just in conjunction with what we've been discussing. I'm liking what I'm hearing this discussion in ways to keep as much as possible. The one hang-up that I still really have, and it's been out in the open here, is the jury box. And what could we do, if anything, to retain that? If under these discussions, I'd rather be looking. I don't see staff being up front there, as has been discussed. So I'd like to see the staff at the rear of the room, and that's good for them to have a workspace while they're waiting. Looking at option 2, I can still see that. I know we lose that one section wall, and actually went back over there yesterday with Mo. She was gracious enough to take me over there, and I looked at it, took a few pictures, and just trying to, if you take away some of that other stuff, it just loses what we had substantially. So I'm trying to, I guess I'm kind of hung up on that jury box right now, trying to figure out if there's a way. I like the idea of trying to maybe relocate that ramp, but I'm not sure. This is going to take some rethinking, and I don't know that we're going to resolve that particular issue today, because it's going to take a little staff time on the part of Lionakis to, see how it could be made to work to keep that jury box instead of why we can't, which is what I'm hearing more. So, okay. Yes, go ahead, Supervisor Randall.
Yeah, and just a comment on that, and I think this is getting to that early question that, as always, I asked so eloquently. But looking at this, if we're not doing the stairs there, it's just the ramp, and it seems like the ramp can be on either side, where the idea is that the staff could fit within the jury box, as Mo said, where it'd be a one-tier type of thing. The dais, by centering it, would basically butt the right edge of that up to the jury box, which from the front I think would look appropriate, and make a spot potentially for the clerk that's kind of right in the middle of those two entities. And then on the left, I don't know what we would use that space for except the ramp. I don't see an issue. I mean, that would center it, that would maintain the jury box. It actually makes a nice area for staff to work while it's in the front and then elevated from the side so people aren't reading the laptop and doing that. It seems to solve a couple issues. So I think that with the full conversation was what I was kind of intending to recommend.
Mo, can you confirm? I was just asking Sarah, since she spent so much time in that courtroom herself. I do believe the jury box, you have to step into it, so then you would be creating an ADA issue for the staff who need to work in that. You also will have to have a ramp. So I just want to make sure you're thinking along those lines. Everything we do will have to address ADA. So anytime there's a step, so if meaning the jury box does have a bit of a step into it, then we'll have to have some type of ramp in order for staff to get up into that area, no matter how long it is. So just something to think about as well.
So what Lionakis is just pulling up right now is Matterport. And so as Tracy was mentioned, as you can see, it's a two-tiered jury box in there. If you were to keep it, if we were somehow able to keep it and working with all the dimensions, then we would need to take out that, two-tiered system and lower it so it was flat against the ground. And then what you could do, if you did that, then you can pull that, maybe you could pull that front wall of the jury box back. Again, then I'm taking apart a historical feature, so it's up to you.
Can I ask something clarifying?
Sure.
Supervisor Goldenberg, did you say you liked, or you were on the fence about option 1 versus 2 with that wall?
Well,
Not
with
the jury
wall
box,
in
but the wall in the back.
room, I want to ensure that there's enough seating. And I want to be able to, as we do now, have staff be able to be in the room at all and have a decent, workspace like you mentioned before, Supervisor Kirk. So I'm okay with removing that wall if we can accomplish these other things. And
Number 2.
that doesn't take away near as much as taking away that jury box in my mind, the wall, because it's got some beautiful paneling on the wall. I understand that, but
it does. So, Brandon, can you do some quick kind of space for me? If we were to take, thank you, if we were to take and flatten out the tiered system inside the tiered flooring in there, remove all the chairs, move that front pony wall, if you will, that wooden wall back, right? What type of space now do I have entering in from the board offices and then the dais and the ramp?
Sorry, I was muted.
That's okay.
I'm not sure what you
So
stated about it.
what you're seeing here is this is really close. I need to pull some dimensions, so that's probably not even an ADA path.
No, it's not. I would have to, again, what we would need to do is move at least two sides of that jury's box. So we would need to move right where that Brandon is, that second circle. So you would need to move the jury box wall, that one that he's right now on, move it up out of the way, move it forward towards the back of the room. And then the front wall of the jury box, move it in to get the necessary space. And then if we were to do that, then you probably need to reconsider then centering the dais, because then you probably need to move the dais over a little bit as we had shown you to be able to make sure we got enough circulation and ADA space. Is that, Brandon, am I not speaking out of turn?
No, you're not speaking out of turn. I'm still just trying to wrap my head about even modifying this at all.
I know. I see. Then you take away I know. I was trying to keep it because I'm hearing that people really like it, but it's going to be hard. You're going to have to change it.
I think we still have to comment.
Yeah.
Yes, Supervisor Haff.
Okay, so here's my full comments now. First, I want to acknowledge that I think most of us have been contacted by quite a few of our former judges in the county, and I appreciate their input. And I don't want to sound flippant here. There is a solution, partial, but it doesn't solve everything. I recognize that the judges' sentiments here, and so in thinking outside the box, I'm wondering, sort of halfway wondering, I guess, if the state superior court could take over that old courtroom and rent it from the county. That doesn't solve our problems, but it could be a possibility if there's such a strong sentiment within the community, not just the judges, but within the community, that they want to retain the historical character of that courtroom. then they need to own it, at least lease it or rent it. But I say it's kind of a flippant comment because, and I don't mean it to be, but this doesn't solve the function problems or the needs or the financial obligations we have to the community to vacate rented space and make better use of taxpayers' dollar, or to better serve the public in the future with an adequate meeting space for board meetings. So with that in mind, I don't think my first offer there is probably would be acted upon. I don't know, but barring that idea, we still have a space needs issue and what I just stated. So from all the comments, I made a list of what I'd like to see, assuming that we are going to take it over and make it into a boardroom, trying to retain as much historical character as possible. I do have a question. The wooden chairs would be bolted down, if I'm remembering. Okay, so I would suggest that the wooden chairs be placed in the corridor or along the wall, or in the museum lobby along with other historical court pieces. I think there'll be more than one court piece that we would want to showcase and place in that room. I'm in favor of removing the back wall, so option 2 looks good to me. But keeping that pony wall up on the top that comes down a certain distance from the ceiling. And I'm in favor of staff working in the back. As far as the Board of Supervisors offices, for those offices that don't have windows, there's a lot that can be done with mirrors to make the light bounce around that would be helpful. So I'm pretty much in favor of option 2. I think we need the space, and we will need the space going into the future. It's not for right now, it's for future needs. And the jury box I'm sick over. It does not appear, unless somebody comes up with a brilliant idea, it would be too much of an ADA nightmare to correct, because the correction, in order to make it ADA viable, ruins the historical character of the box. So unless an architect has a way around that, I think we're going to have to forego the jury box. Those are my comments.
Supervisor Kirk.
Okay. I agree with, we're trying to get out rented space. That's why we're here, save money, preserve this so it doesn't end up like the dome, like Supervisor Campbell said. The reason why I wanted to hear what everybody said is because I'm keeping tally. I'm hearing Brandon and half for option 2. I'm hearing Ryan more for option 1. David, I know you're kind of on the fence as far as that back wall.
More 2 than.
More 2? Okay. I think the reason why I brought up the tables in the back was if option 1 could bring the folks up front closer to the board, and we could still have work tables in the back with option 1, I would kind of be okay with that. But the only way I would be okay with that is if we didn't have bolted down chairs, because with this room, we move chairs all the time. We do events, we do meetings, we have to have a space that's workable. And so for me, if I were to do option 1 and I could have staff in the back, when I say back, I mean with that wall there, not knocking out the wall, but have access to move chairs around, I would be okay with option 1 because I'm hearing a lot of concerns about the historical preservation. Regarding the jury box, it's completely, I don't see how it's going to work. I'm fine with removing it. I'm not fine, but it's just a reality. I think we have to remove it. But I want to get back to my comment about the seats being bolted down. If they're bolted down, then we have to remove that back wall and do it in a manner that makes it look like it was never knocked down. But we need that space in the back to potentially be able to move chairs around and tables. So I'm kind of on the fence between 1 and 2. And I hope I'm clear as far as, like I said, if we want to keep option 1, we got to have chairs that aren't bolted down so that we have a workable space. So I hope that helps. Let me see if there's any other, so eliminate the jury box, yes. Do you want to keep the center? whatever you guys want to do with the judges bench, it sounds like we're going to preserve it. So half had some good ideas. It sounds like Campbell will agree with that. Wooden seats, I'm fine with bolting them down, but we have to remove that wall if we're going to do that. Otherwise, don't have bolted seats and keep option 1. And do you want to remove all of the seating for staff at the tables inside? No. I want to put it in the back of the room one way or another. Do you want to keep the whole wall between? Already spoke to that. Okay, so hopefully that is clear enough, and between David and Campbell, we can work this out real quick.
Supervisor Campbell.
Yeah, and I'll just kind of speak to a couple of those things. I hear that there's interest in removing the back wall. I know that we had the workshop discussion, and my recollection is that we decided not to do that. So, I'll just kind of walk through why we decided not to do that then, to kind of maybe jog some memories. So the seating that we have currently in this room is 48 seats. The seating that is in the courtroom is, what was it, 65? That's what I count. So 7 rows of 5 and then 6,
Right.
or
Right, it's
5 rows of 7 seats on the left side, and then 5 rows of 6 seats on the right.
Yeah, 65
So
currently.
that's 65. Okay, so it's already just not touching a thing, keeping it the way it is. It already has more seating than we currently have in this room. So I really don't see seating as an issue. Add to that, if we were to follow through with moving the bar forward, now you're adding another, 9 seats, potentially ADA compliant, plus space for the lectern. You're up into the potentially 74 seats, and that's without changing a thing except for moving the bar. The other element was, so that was the first element, is that I believe that the seating is adequate for 99% of the needs that the community would have for that room. If there was an instance where we had hundreds and hundreds of people that needed to show up, that room wouldn't be adequate anyway, regardless. And so we would need to move the discussion to another location, like one of the CRCs, either in Groveland or in Tuolumne City. Those are much better suited as a multi-purpose room than this would be in even an ideal situation. The second element, so the one was that the seating currently, I believe, is adequate, and I think we reached that conclusion in the past. The second is that the cost. So the cost related with making a major modification, like removing a lath and plaster wall, is going to be higher than preserving it the way it is, preserving the existing seating. And other boards or other county government officials at another time in the future could elect to remove that wall and add seating if it's not working out, make whatever changes they want in the future. But I think in the short term, we're trying to utilize that space, and so minimizing the amount of modifications in the short term so that it can be used as a boardroom, I think, to me, takes precedence over making it an ideal. We're sacrificing certain elements, which is additional seating, for other elements, which would be historic preservation and reducing the cost. I'm more on the side, obviously, of reducing the cost, preserving the historical elements. And that was kind of the root of the discussion that we had in the past about it. So again, I like option 2 with the exception of, you could put it either way. I like option 1 with the addition of changing the position of the bar, or I like option 2 without the removal of the back wall. So if that simplifies it, those are the interchangeable items on either of those that, and I'll end it there.
All right. Got a couple of final comments here, and then I'm going to ask Mo to do a little recap.
Okay.
The wooden chairs, I sat in them just yesterday and had somebody sit next to me, and it's very, very tight. and for people to be sitting there attending a board meeting for any length of time is going to be difficult. Even if you space them apart a little bit to give more walking room. I do like the idea, I think Supervisor Half mentioned, of perhaps taking some of those chairs out into the open space area. I'd like to see some in that room still against the walls, or something to that effect so that you can see, and then, people, they can sit every other one in, ones that are outside the room, just so they, experience that. I'm still, that jury box is still a big thing in my mind, to just trying to figure out. When we were looking at the end, let's call it end wall of the jury box closest to where the doorway would go to the board members' offices, that might be able to, they do fantastic work in refurbishing, dismantling and moving a few feet and putting it back together. There's experts that do exactly that type of work. Making that a flat platform instead of having the raised areas, gets us out of that. So, Mo, maybe if you can, at this point, just kind of hearing from us, where we're sitting.
Okay. Yeah, staff is over here scribbling and taking various copious notes. So this is kind of what I've heard. In regards to options, I've heard there are 3 supervisors that are looking at option 2. There are 2 that are looking at option 1. In regards to the other features of the room, I've heard that from the majority of you that you're looking at keeping the judge's bench and incorporating it into the dais. I've heard that you agree that there should be staff tables in the room, but put them in the back, move them in the back of the room, and make one table up front for the presenters. I've heard reluctantly that the jury box is probably not going to work, or if we keep it there, it's going to be significantly altered. So I have right now, from what I heard from the majority of you, the jury box is out. I have consistently, I've heard that we're going to move the railing up in the room to make more room from chairs, whatever options we go for, and that we're looking at wooden, from the majority of you, the wooden chairs are out and center the dais. And that's kind of, okay, so,
At least I had keep the wooden chairs that are already in there in the back, be able to use movable chairs. Don't buy more wooden chairs. But.
Okay, so I thought I heard from Supervisor Half out. Supervisor Kirk.
Depends. Are we? If the majority, here's the deal. If the majority is in favor of 2 knocking out that wall, then yes,
right,
leave the
okay,
chairs.
So here you go. I think you are. I think I have 2-2. So I think I have Supervisor Campbell and Supervisor Jaron saying keep the wooden chairs. I have Supervisor Half and Supervisor Goldenberg saying take them out. If I'm getting this right.
Well, and to your point, you were asking about whether the back wall is kind of a component of that, right? What you had said was the direction was we would be removing the back wall.
So far right now, I have 3 supervisors for option 2, which would be removing that wall partially. Take out little less than half of it and expand that area.
So maybe what would help is all these things that you said, and if you have a few more, list them, and then we just go through each one real quick and make sure we're final on our vote.
Okay.
In case somebody wants to jump ship.
Go through the list.
I'm not saying anybody will, but I think
no, that's okay. So
if that's okay, Supervisor Goldberg.
Yes, thank you.
Would it help if we start off with which of the 3 options the board would like? So right now, what I have in my notes is Supervisor Half, Supervisor Jaron, and Supervisor Goldenberg all are voting for option 2. I have Supervisor Campbell and Supervisor Kirk on option 1. Is that a correct
Specific
assumption?
to the wall, yes.
For what? For not removing?
Yeah, I think just answering, I'm off track here. So answering the question of I'm not clear which of us are in favor of removing the back wall. Do we want to do a poll of that? Because that seems to be the central issue here.
That's
poll of the back wall, poll of maintaining the seating, I think, and then maybe pole of the jury box. And I think that would resolve the question.
And really, that's the difference between option 1 and option 2. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Or some
So-
combination. See, there's a combination in between those that I think we're leaning toward.
Okay, so for removal of I have 3 things that your board would like to do a poll for. So removal of the back wall. What is the, so,
Are we doing a poll now?
yes,
Sure. So, yes.
okay. Yes, no, yes. So I have three supervisors for removal of the wall and 2 not. As far as.
And Mo, and
Yes.
this is just something that we had the opportunity to discuss too before, but I wanted to present it. I would say even further than that, having the AV tech and the storage area there, having a large space, and I agree with Supervisor Kirk that we do move things around, that's a thing to keep in mind about whether we can make that space for that. But that's a really prime piece of real estate to use for table storage or anything like that, and the AV thing could be moved. I would not only consider just that one back section of wall, but really the full back wall. That's not within option 1, 2, or 3. But I'm only throwing that out there unless I'm the only one, then I'm the only one.
So what I'm hearing from Supervisor Brandon is that his suggestion is taking that that square box. Can you point it out, Brandon? On the chart? Yeah, so that square box and moving it all the way back, taking out the closet storage area and moving that all the way out to the back of the room, kind of like what we have now back there. Moving it all the way towards the windows to the back of the room and taking out the closet. So can you take Brandon, can you take the arrow and just move show them, right, so it'd be moved back in that area. We would disappear. So if we have any tables and chairs, then the only other storage I have on this floor is, Brandon, can you go over to the other side of the building, right there? That's the other storage that is up there on the 3rd floor. So, do I have any?
I'm not sure, I forget what roughly the width of that room is, but why would we need to move it all the way back? We could move it partially back to gain more room in the main body as well as still retain some storage.
So what I'm hearing right now, a proposal is to shrink that storage area so it's a lot smaller. So take it in half, if you will, and then move back the AV tech area into that space then and add another 2 rows of chairs or so, or 3.
So I think we're off on another topic. Weren't we in the middle of polling about the design elements?
We are. I was asked a question, so
I'm sorry.
that's why I'm just giving information. So, okay, so then in regards to it, so we just took a vote on the back wall, and so far it looks like we're going with option 2. Then in regards to that, then we have the wooden seating. Do you want to keep the wooden seating? Do you want to remove it? Do you want to do the other option that was presented to your board from one of your colleagues was if you go with option 2, keep the wooden seating as is, and then in the back of the room where we're removing the wall, that's where you would put in the removable chairs.
Okay.
Yes.
Supervisor Hunt?
Are we recentering the dais?
That's what I've heard from the majority of you. You would like to recenter the dais, or you would like to have the dais centered. Is what I heard from most of you.
Yeah, then the bolted chairs will look off. They won't, if they're kept in their same position. The room will look askew.
I think it would align because right now, as it's on here, it's askew with the bolted chairs. If it's aligned up, then. The lectern would move over, the chair's seat would move over, and it would be directly aligned with that middle aisle, I think. Oh, that's a, yeah.
Excuse me, we're not taking public comment right now, thank you.
So, quick question. I had a question that wasn't answered. Are we going to be using this room for other things other than sitting in? Because if we are, then we can't bolt them down. If we're not, that's fine. I just need to know what the plan is.
Right, well, that is up to your board. If you have seats that are bolted to the floor, obviously it limits your flexibility of the room. If you don't, then we just go somewhere else when we need that
Where's
type of
somewhere
space.
else going to be?
We have CRCs, we go library, trying to think of something big enough. As you know, like in here, we do department head meetings, we do the Christmas luncheon, we have trainings that the county council provides for Brown Act and ethics. But we have other locations if needed. It could be, Tuolumne would be the next biggest location for us to go to, for the CRC.
Okay.
Well, if I can ask on that, part of it, and I'm wondering on these, so these are bolted in.
Yes.
I'm thinking about the chairs. I'm not really thinking about how they're attached there. Is there a way to very readily just convert them into something that can roll? I mean, basically unbolt them, put them onto some type of stand with caster wheels. That way, if we want to have them out in the hallway, we can. They lock. I mean, not that different than that table you're at.
Brandon, can you pull up a picture of one of the chairs? I don't believe structurally they were meant for, some of the stability of it is that they are bolted down.
They're attached to one and another. So you can see that there's a piece of cast iron between these two backs that hold them together. So with that concept, you'd have to move them as the whole unit.
Okay, yeah, that answers that.
Want to do a poll then? I'm sorry, unless there's any
Okay, so on chairs then, Supervisor Half, we just want to make sure where you're at is.
Yeah, if we're going to use that room for functionality for other things, we have to remove them.
So in regards to a poll for the wooden chairs, utilizing option 2, how many of you would want to remove the chairs? 2?
I'm okay with removing. I'd like to ensure that we have some remain in that room.
Yeah.
And
Like
the
I had
others as
suggested.
close as possible out in the open space.
We need to display them somewhere on that third floor.
Okay, so
Some of them.
So I'm seeing that I have 3 yes to remove the chairs, but to have some that are displayed upstairs in that area or
Yeah,
in
I made
the room.
this suggestion in the corridor along the wall or possibly in the museum might be more appropriate, depending on what other artifacts that we have to display.
Okay. Then I'm hearing that as far as centering the dais in the room, I'm hearing that all of
I'm
you
fine with
want
centering.
it centered.
Everybody concur on that? Okay.
I think it's going to look really odd if it's not
depends-
centered.
It
over
depends
time.
on what, that's not a decision we can make right now.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, we don't know what it is going to look like.
Okay. And then we have the jury box. So, elimination, how many of you are for the elimination of the jury box in option 2 design?
Well, I have another question before we, if I may.
Yes, please.
When I had made the statement about the jury box and what a ADA nightmare it was without input from the architects. If they could structurally redo it and keep its historical integrity. I don't know that that's a possibility, but I'd like to hear from the architects on that.
Sure. Brandon, can you weigh in on that one, please?
Please repeat that. I was typing something. I apologize.
Sure. So we've heard that there's no way of making, or there doesn't seem to be a way of making that jury box ADA compliant without kind of tearing it up, chopping it up, and moving it back. Taking out the extra levels and so forth. And it would have to somehow be modified. Would that destroy the historical integrity of the jury box if we did all that?
I honestly don't have a good question for that because we don't have anything on how it was built. So to figure that out, you'd have to just start to carefully take it apart and see if it was feasible.
Supervisor Brandon.
Great, thank you. I'm just going to amend with the idea of keeping it. I'm more interested in trying to preserve and reuse it in some way than it has to be in that room. Just as a potential idea, and I think this is similar to what you were mentioning about overflow areas. There's 2 other spots I see on that floor where it potentially could fit with minor alteration. One's within the museum lobby area, right to basically the north of the restroom there. It's almost the same size. Right. Another would be on the right side of the corridor at the top, along kind of where the restrooms are at, just below there, where it could be overflow seating, it could have an exhibit, it could have, even as it is basically with the current chairs, people could sit there. I think moving that is a fairly non-destructive way, and that would allow us to center everything in the room and solve a lot of the issues we've been talking about with spacing. So just throwing that out, if either of those would work, and I don't know, Brandon or Mo, if you have any insight of whether that's possible, but I would be fine with that. I don't think it has to stay in that room. I just want to somewhat preserve it if there's a way.
Absolutely.
Hey, Mo, do you think there's any chance, Sarah and I were just wondering about, that jury box could be used for the AV area? We just maybe put it even on a platform if you needed to raise it up, keep it in, I don't know, just a thought that, I don't know how wide it is, but it would keep it in the room, it would still display it. I'm not sure though about the width and all the diameters.
Yeah,
of it, but
that's my only
you could put it
concern, concern,
up on a
Tracy,
platform,
is the size of it. If I can see trying to, again, I don't know if I'm going to take away the historical feature of it, but if we were able to make it not so, the width not as long as it is, could we then repurpose it? And then Brandon, can you bring it up again? The sides are very ornate, and it's a nice kind of curve to the side of it. Can you go to the other side? So this side is open, as you can see, so I'm not as worried about it. The other side has that beautiful curve to it. So if we were to move it and make it a little bit in and take away the floor, and then what you're suggesting then is then keep it in place and use it for ADA. Oh man, again, it's going to be dimensions. Brandon, yeah, I don't know, as Brandon was just saying, if we could take it apart and not damage the feature. 2, then if we are to make it a little bit thinner, but yet still meet ADA accommodations for people going into it, and then the circulation of people going around it. That is a concern for me, but it's something that if your board wants us to explore, we could. I don't think Brandon or I could give you an answer today on that one.
Okay, we need to move this along and come to a conclusion here. I still believe that, because I know that there's experts out there that do this type of work, that they can shrink that a little bit and move it in if we were to be able to keep that jury box in the room in roughly the same place where it's at. May not have the whole thing as it was, but I think perhaps, most of it. I'm still a little bit mystified over the ramp for the access onto the dais. And
right.
That one's, I don't know.
So is there direction to staff to work with the architect to see if there's any possible way we can utilize the jury box? It won't be in the same configuration exactly as it is as we're looking at it today, but to try to see what we can do to incorporate it, whether it's in the front of the room there, or maybe it's in the back of the room. We can try to look at that if that's the pleasure of your board.
I just don't see the effect in the back of the room. I mean, yeah, it might fit, but it's not going to be appreciated. is my concern.
See, that's right there where Brandon is. That is that tight squeeze.
Right.
That's the issue right there. So it not only would it have to be right, no matter what we do, if we were trying to keep it, would have to be moved up towards the other doors, and it would have to be moved in, and the floor would have to be removed.
Supervisor Huff.
I have a question. That back paneling of the jury box, does that continue further down in the?
Yes, it's continues all the way around the room, and as like I said, as much of it, we would keep all of it, except for, so right there, stop. Where Brandon is right now, those what, 6 panels, Brandon?
Yeah, there's 6 on that.
Would need to be removed, and we would then look at repurposing them. We probably won't, it could be that we repurpose them and we put them in what is the conference, I can't remember what's in the jury room, Brandon. Wherever it's
Actually,
appropriate,
Mo,
we would repurpose it.
The idea I have on that right now is talking with my historical architect. If we're going to remove this back wall, we've got to leave a little bit of wall on this side, and then we'll be repurposing these paneling to turn it and wrap it around it so it looks like it's terminated properly.
Good. Okay, thank you.
So my comment would be that we need to leave that, if we end up removing the jury box, we need to leave the paneling on the back part of it. We can't take that out.
No.
Okay, final weigh-in on this whole jury box situation, board members.
So I guess, as one was saying, preserve it within the room. Like I said, I'm fine with supporting removing it. My intent on that would just be reuse it somewhere else within the building. So
the only thing I want to say, looking at the photo, is if it's this long, why not just take off 8 feet of it, put the side back on, just make it a smaller jury box? I don't know if that's been thought of.
I think that's doable.
That's what I was saying.
Sorry, we were talking so much about it, I don't know where we're at.
It's okay, Supervisor Kirk. That's not looking at the piece of historical features of it. That's what the architect Brandon was saying, is could we look at that and basically shrink the box? So move it out and move it in. And then it would be, instead of 2 rows, you would have a single row. If you wanted, we could use it, as Supervisor Riggs said, you could use it for maybe ADA seating, or you could look at it for then, if you wanted to reposition or change out the dais, you could have your clerk, your county counsel, and your county administrator sit on that side. So it's up to you.
Thank you. Just want to clarify.
You're welcome.
Do we have concurrence from other board members on that thought? I see Supervisor Brandon, and Supervisor Campbell.
I mean, I could provide a timeline of the events for how we got here. I'm not real clear on what we're talking about at the moment, because we had a board workshop right here in the boardroom where there were members of the community, members of the historical preservation group, past and current judges that were in the room, more members of the public that I think were engaged and interested in this as a topic. And at that time, we gave staff direction to preserve the back wall, preserve the seating, and preserve the judges, incorporate the judges' bench with a dais. And it sounds like only one of those things is actually being preserved. So I just wonder what has happened. We had another meeting on the 12th of December where there was a recommended design that incorporated none of those features that we were looking to preserve. And so now we're going off of that. So I'm getting a little bit of whiplash here.
Okay, so if I can interject here, what was then, what's happening now are obviously different.
But
process.
I guess what I'm looking for is an explanation about why it was not important, why the additional seating was not important in the past, but now it is.
Okay, so what I'm looking at is what we're getting with concurrence now today. We've got pretty good support in a number of areas. I think we're very close. And yes, it is very well different from what was discussed previously, but we're here having this conversation, and it's not to mean that what was said before can't be changed. The reason we're having this meeting is because staff didn't have clear direction, and they could see the things
I thought they did, and I think many people that were present at the workshop would say that they did.
Well,
and now we're talking about putting seating on rollers, and it would remove, to me, any modicum of the character of the space that currently exists. I mean, to me, that's the whole point.
Okay.
The whole vision of this is to preserve it as a historic space where we hold board meetings.
And I understand, and make it functional and ADA compliant is
right within. Of course, we have to follow the law, but.
So. I don't think we're seriously looking at putting the chairs on wheels and doing some stuff there. So I think we just need to make a decision on this jury box and be done with it. And I'm hearing support of, I believe, at least 3 of us on the jury box, trying to modify it and shrink it a bit and keep it as much as we can in that space to keep that atmosphere. Supervisor Kirk, I believe that you're...
Yeah, no, my comment about getting rid of it was if we can't make it work. But yes, of course, if we can make it work.
Okay.
So then that will be 4 votes for that.
And Supervisor Half? Okay.
And I hear Supervisor Campbell's frustration. I'm voting more on your side for option 1 and whatnot, but I think that's the nature of this conversation is it's evolving. And once you take one piece apart, then other pieces start coming apart, like the seating. And so I feel your frustration, but I also, hearing the broader conversation, it's evolved, and I think for us to say what the first conversation was is how it should be. I think option number 1 from staff is pretty much, I wasn't at that one workshop because my wife was in labor, but I think option 1 is exactly what you're describing. It's just the nature of the conversation has led us to where we are today. So,
okay. Well, my feeling is that we're taking a very heavy-handed and more expensive approach, and those are my concerns. So I'll leave it there. We can move on if you have direction.
Okay, so the only last item I need to make sure, and I think this is an easy one, incorporate the judge's bench into the dais. And I think I have consensus that all of you would like to do that.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so do you have what you...
Staff has what I think are clear directions in regards to, with a 3-2 vote, we are going to remove the wooden chairs. We're going to take and look at option 2, 3-2 vote, and then we're going to try to center the dais. We're trying to look at the jury box to see if there's any way if at all possible, keeping the historical integrity with it, modify it to try to keep it in the same location and use it for a different purpose, and incorporate the judge's bench into the dais.
Okay. Well, I appreciate everybody's comments and patience. Yes, I know we visited this a number of times, and it is frustrating, Supervisor Campbell, to bring it back. But we are talking about something that's very significant in its history, and trying to do what we can and get people in that room to appreciate it. That to me is, we need that more than anything else, is to have people, in there and have it become a living, breathing thing that, people can enjoy. All right. So let's take let's see, we're bumping up against lunchtime, actually. When do we normally? When were we planning on doing closed? Okay, so what we're going to do here is We're going to go ahead and push on and do item 7. And then we're going to look at going in closed session. And that'll pretty much be the end of the meeting. We're not anticipating having a report out once we go into closed session. So if you could please go ahead and read item 7 then.
Item number 7, presentation and updates on natural resources and water activities in consideration of approving the Natural Resources Advisory Committee strategic priorities.
Hello, Sean. What have you got for us here?
There we go.
Yep.
Let me go ahead and load up my presentation briefly and speak about water and natural resource update. I'm just, are you ready to load the presentation? Yes, I'm ready. Hello, good morning. Still morning briefly. I'm Sean Hembry. I'm your Water and Natural Resource Analyst, and today I am excited to share with your board a report on the actions that other county staff, and collaborators have been working on. I will summarize some of the current projects and opportunities, but I would like to begin with an overview of how natural systems in our setting critically impacts the life of our community. Let's get started with a high level and zoom in. And I should just point out that I know that this is an educated board and you understand these issues, and the information I'm going to present is probably not new to you in any way, but I thought it would be helpful just to kind of gather this data together and as we look at this. California has some of the most unpredictable precipitation accumulations of any state in the continental U.S. This increases the vulnerability to damage from floods and droughts and wildfires. To compound this challenge, available water does not correspond to population centers. Rainfall accumulation occurs in the north and east regions, while population centers are concentrated in the south and the west and the Central Valley area. As a result, California is reliant on a complex interdependent water distribution network that becomes increasingly vulnerable as available water supply becomes less reliable. Tuolumne County's watersheds are critical to this system. Hetch Hetchy Reservoir provides 117 billion gallons to 2.7 million residents and businesses in San Francisco and adjacent counties. Maloney's and Don Pedro reservoirs have a holding capacity of 780 billion gallons and 650 billion gallons of water, respectively. The margin between supply and demand has become tighter over time. Hotter and drier conditions from changing climates are causing major shifts in the seasonality and volume of runoff. These changing conditions bring higher consumptive use by crops, natural vegetation, urban landscapes, and a substantial reduction of natural water storage in the form of snowpack, soil moisture, and aquifer replenishment. Climate modeling predicts increased severity and frequency of extreme weather events. From last year's 2 federally recognized disasters, there were over $40 million of initial damage estimates to Tuolumne County public sector entities, and an additional $8+ million was awarded to private sector residents and businesses from FEMA and SBA. Under future conditions, supplies of available water is expected to decrease 10% by 2040. These changing conditions also have a significant impact on fuel moisture and the risk of catastrophic wildfires and corresponding insurance costs. And the image on the screen there is Don Pedro Reservoir after the last storm, where there was over 100 acres of floating debris. The good news is that it is possible to significantly influence the supply of available water. As you can see on this slide, for every 1% increase in soil organic matter, there are 20,000 gallons per acre of increased infiltration. It should be noted that that is kind of a per storm event. What actually ultimately determines how much water is infiltrated has to do with the subsoil hydrology. But the point is that by increasing the health of our soils, we can significantly impact how much water is retained versus running off. Additionally, creating openings in vegetation cover in higher elevation forest and rangeland settings allows for better accumulation of snowpack and better dry season water supply. The point here is that good stewardship of our lands will provide the ecosystem services we need, like water security, water quality, manageable wildfire risks, and a healthy economy. It is for these reasons that the natural resource projects like the ones I will share with you are critically important. So, what water and natural resource actions have we been working on, and what will be coming soon? I'd like to just share kind of the overview here on this slide. We'll look at all of these items in the next several slides. So we have two formal plans under development currently. We have our drought resilience plan and our community wildfire protection plan. County staff and stakeholders in the county's drought task force are working with the Department of Water Resources and their appointed contractor, Stantec, to develop a Tuolumne County drought resilience plan. This will build on the task force county OES and GIS departments have already done in setting up a intake portal to identify vulnerable residents and failing wells within our county. Regarding the CWPP plan, Tuolumne County has also provided staff support to the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. Tuolumne County Fire Safe Council is leading the development of this first county-wide CWPP. Now, this is not a mandated plan, but it is necessary for most wildfire funding projects, and it is important for us to identify priority actions that we share in common. Local water supplier engagement. So we have been deliberate to engage all of our local water purveyors. I don't have time to go into all of the actions that they have identified as concerns and opportunities, but we want to support their work. Understanding the needs of our local water utility partners is critical to promote water security and quality for our citizens. Modernizing and diversifying water supply infrastructure is critical, and supporting small water providers and decentralized on-site water systems is also important. Now, we have submitted 2 grants in the last few months since I've taken up the position in Water and Natural Resource Analyst. I'll go over those briefly and also talk about ones that we kind of have in queue. The first grant we submitted is the Bureau of Reclamation Water Smart Applied Science Grant. The second is the USDA IRA Forest Landowner Support Grant. So the first grant is a monitoring grant that will go into effect over the Cerro project area. It will identify the impacts of those treatments and will capture pre-existing conditions over that landscape and what its total available water and water quality impacts were for providers like TID. It will provide a decision support tool for those water managers, but it will also inform best practice for how we go about forest health projects and identify their benefits as well as their costs. Now, in terms of the second grant, the USDA Landowner Support Grant, that will go to support small parcel forest landowners for forest improvement, and in a similar way, it will hopefully provide the quantification and monetization of the value of good forest stewardship, but that will be for private parcels. Now, grants we have in queue, we are looking at an EPA-funded non-point source pollution grant, which will include stormwater measures as part of that planning and implementation. And of course, we are looking at other forest health grants, several, none in particular to mention by name. So the Natural Resource Committee, we have a couple items for your consideration. The first is just to make note of the letters of support or comment that the committee advisors, the subject matter experts on the committee had advised, and as staff support I had written for recommendations for board signatures. These are important as they affect policy and legislation for specific actions that on our federal lands in particular, but anything that has pertinence to water and natural resources, we will bring before the board for its consideration. So in this next slide, I need to clarify, we are aware that the board has a workshop that is upcoming, and this is not an attempt to preempt that or to lead, but actually to follow the board's directives. It should be noted, however, that prior to this year, we had a water committee and a natural resource committee, and in this year they were combined. So that new and improved natural resources committee, we felt it was important to have kind of a guidepost for what our strategic actions would look like. So we submit this to you to take before your workshop, and if you have recommendations you want to act upon now, that's fine, but you can take this under advisement and have access to this as you go into your workshop. You can see that the items, these items will also be listed on our agenda as it will be posted when they are finalized. We gave examples of each category of emphasis that we consider a strategic priority in its draft form. To differentiate between a project and a kind of a value or a benefit that we want to focus on, we've included the examples under each item. Of course, this is an attachment in the agenda, so you all have access to this. I can share the expanded version with the examples at your discretion. So what about upcoming opportunities? Here's a couple that I want to bring to your attention. I can't give a lot of details about it because it's still ongoing, but we expect both of these first two items to come before the board in requests for your guidance and direction. The Jamestown mine property, there are multiple parcels that are owned as county assets. We are under the initial investigations into future remediations and land use opportunities for the site. And we expect that we will be bringing this back before your board again shortly. The second item, similarly, in February, we will bring a presentation discussing opportunities to support innovative business ventures and supply chain support for forest biomass products. This last acronym, I will read it out because it's kind of a mouthful. This is the Stanislaus and Tuolumne Rivers Groundwater Basin Association Groundwater Sustainability Agency. Say that 7 times fast. It's kind of a mouthful, but it's a good example. What we're talking about here is the California water boards require groundwater sustainability agencies to monitor and prevent overdrafting of the groundwater basins. Tuolumne County has a small, limited number of parcels that fall within the groundwater basin along its western edge. This is kind of an example. We haven't started in earnest on projects like this, but there are implications for downstream water users that will impact the county's water rights and water usage. So we want to watch that and be protective of the county's water rights. This is an example that has not started, but we may hear more about that and bring this before your board as well within the coming year. So the last thing I want to bring to your attention, give a little report out on the ACWA conference. That's the Association of California Water Agencies. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to go to that this last fall. There are 3 takeaways that I'd like to bring to your attention. The first is an acknowledgement for the Region 3, which is our region for that association. Some of the water agencies have large urban water suppliers that don't really necessarily align with Tuolumne County, and in our setting is not really necessarily relevant, but Region 3 is counties like ours. So I'd like to first make an acknowledgement of the value of participating within the Region 3 Committee, and it identified shared challenges and opportunities for advocacy and information sharing amongst other rural mountain counties. The next takeaway I'd like to note is to share the impact of water insecurity on agriculture. One of the presentations had this information. According to the presentation statistics, the amount of California vegetable consumption imported from outside the U.S. has increased 500 to 800% since the 1970s. In our county, a great proportion of the ag products are livestock and timber, as was indicated in the report earlier at this meeting. Using uncultivated and unirrigated land or irrigated land with reclaimed water, our local producers demonstrate the resilience of agriculture as applied in wild and rangeland settings. They produce local and regional food security, and this should be acknowledged. The last takeaway item I wanted to share was a presentation about trust in a polarized setting, which of course is what we see trending in our current culture. According to the statistics provided by the Edelman Trust Barometer, there has been a significant erosion in public trust and skepticism. This results in polarization that cripples collaboration and solution building. In response, the presenters cited examples of collaboration and inclusion between local governments and business entities, and the importance of good communication and responsiveness to public concern. So let me just share this next slide, and this will be my final slide. In areas where polarization has become entrenched and enculturated, they indicate that, they indicate that only 1 in 5 would be willing to live in the same neighborhood as people with whom they did not hold the same point of view. And with only 1 in 5 would they be willing to be a coworker, have them as a coworker. The statistic that really disturbed me is they said that only less than 1 in 3 would be willing to help someone in need if they were a person who held a significantly different view. I should just say that some of the conversations that we have in water and natural resources, especially some of the grants that we've applied to, they're connected to emerging science and the data and the quantification and the monetization of forest health projects and their implications for ecosystem services, and the comparison of those ecosystem service projects compared to hardening, for instance, of infrastructure for mitigating for disaster mitigation. Those are all hard conversations. How we incorporate traditional environmental knowledge into those conversations in a changing climate, as well as changing land use needs. There are opportunities that are ripe for polarization, and it's kind of a promise and a challenge to all of us, I think, to kind of push back against that, to practice humility and active listening as we engage those kinds of conversations. And so being a person who's lived in Tuolumne County, my family's been in Tuolumne County for 6 generations, I really don't want this statistic, especially that 30%, to be true in our setting. So I will leave you in the presentation with that. I'm happy to answer any questions or have any discussion at your direction.
Very good, thank you. So, to the board, do we have some questions of Mr. Hembry? Supervisor Brandon, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about it was related to woody byproducts and whatnot. There's concurrent kind of proposals happening with the Economic Development District worked on with Supervisor Kirk, and then with the SURF process for value-added wood products, kind of feasibility study. I also wanted to ask about the other one was a feedstock analysis was brought up as a need from some of the bioenergy companies coming in. I just want to make sure that this isn't being done and applied for kind of separate from that. We're just, I mean, what's the communication outside of just water and natural resources to cover economic development and to cover, YSS as an example? I think actually we were at that together.
Yeah, so is asked to which stakeholders are involved and exactly what that'll look like. Of course, that's very malleable at this point. I think just a presentation of the initial needs, understanding the initial needs and opportunities will be presented, and where we go with that information and who is involved can be dynamic and at your direction. We will have a board presentation in February asking for more direction.
Okay, and I wanted to clarify the role too with the committee, and this is just to go back to when we had made those committee changes, that under my understanding with the new boards, committees, commissions manual and the updated resolution of that, the Board of Supervisors is the Tuolumne County Water Agency. So this committee doesn't have its own authority to, outside of an adopted legislative platform, go send letters, approve its own grant submissions. I mean, that stuff would need to still come back here. It would be a discussion forum for those items, right?
Yes, I understand that's the governing body. This board is the governing body for that agency.
And the concern would be if we approved this, that suddenly this separate entity is basically going and being able to do what was CEQA and NEPA comment letters. It had legislative letters. It had grant application submissions. It kind of had all the things that I would think we would see coming up to this place. So anyway, that answers my question.
The new committee is an advisory committee to this board.
Okay, thank you. Other board members? Okay, seeing no other questions at this time, I'll call for public comment. Any members of the public want to speak on this matter? Okay, not seeing any. I'll bring it back to the board. This is, you're asking for approval of the strategic priorities, but I appreciate that you recognized early on in your presentation that our board workshop is coming up. So that's where, decisions are going to be made at the board level. Similar efforts are going on with other committees. We're doing it in fire, homeless, COA. We didn't bring those to the board specifically, but it's the same thought to share information when we get to our workshop. And I'm sure other committees are doing the same. So looking to the board, any further? Supervisor Kirk.
Yeah, I'll just make quick few comments. I want to thank Sean. He's been a breath of fresh air. When we reformed the NRC and the water, we wanted to pause, and that's why the priorities that we have on there, which we're going to discuss at the board meeting, but we didn't want to just sit idle for 6 months. We wanted to look at our current board objectives and priorities, but then also where things were headed. One of the bullet points, number 4, and we worked really hard to keep it very simple. You guys know the acronym, keep it simple, stupid. He's gone after some grants. That's been directive of the board as far as Cerro 2.0, and you guys have heard conversation about the health of the forest and how it affects watershed downstream. That's what some of those grants are. So although there's kind of a lot of different parts, and we're going to have a conversation at the board level, I really wanted to highlight that for me, and I'm not going to speak for Supervisor Half, but trying to get ahead of it and really the master stewardship, what we have already in place, and trying to really expand on that. And I think that's going to be the future, hopefully, of forest management, is getting the people downstream to understand how putting money and resources and investments in the form of forest management is going to benefit that map where you see the black in California. I mean, those pictures are so simple. When we can connect those dots with urban folks, with folks who have more resources and monies and whatnot, I think we're going to see a lot of really good work continue in our forest, which is already happening. So the gist of it was, Sean, thank you. We've been very thoughtful and strategic, and we're going to pause a little bit till we have the board workshop. But I think we're off to a good start, and hopefully today's presentation was just kind of I think the last time we had a conversation about the water was this board just wanted to be more aware of what's going on. So hopefully this is a good beginning point as far as where we've come, where we are, and where we're potentially going to head. So.
Yeah, so thank you very much for that background and explanation. It, it gives a little bit of perspective, for us to consider. And it's a very active committee. So Supervisor Half.
Yeah, I just wanted to simply say a big thank you to Supervisor Kirk for leading the charge with the Natural Resources Committee, and of course with the helpful organization of Sean Hembry. I just want the rest of the board to know we have our own natural resource in Sean Hembry. He is a diamond, and we are lucky to have him helping us with all of these things. I had the pleasure of getting to know him better at the Aqua Conference, and we've got a real treasure here. So thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Supervisor Brandon, do you have a follow-up?
Great, thank you. And I completely agree, Sean. It's been a pleasure working with you on a lot of this stuff. There's a few things in this that I think are really the purpose of why I voted to create, reestablish, support this, and we voted together on that. And that was the built environment. It was the stuff that didn't have a home yet. So Harvard Mine, I know you put a lot of time into. It's a key issue. It's not just an opportunity, it's a threat. This is something in a couple of years we have to figure out a solution for. Hopefully it's an opportunity. But it will come, that date for the stipulated judgment. Also looking at with the utility partners, I know it says with support with letters, kind of keep involved, and I think we did start there. But there are goals beyond that, especially when we're considering the planning process. There's a moratorium at Jamestown Sanitary as an example, because of something discussed frequently here, that to build housing you have to pipe it. To pipe it you have to have capacity at the plant, and where the plants haven't planned for that capacity, we may need to get involved to support that so that they can help us reach the goals that we're setting from a planning perspective. So all to say, a lot of this I like. My feedback on it is this is not a master forest stewardship position. We have an excellent advocacy group through Yosemite Stanislaus Solutions. We have amazing staff that work through that. Liz, I mean, we've got several folks doing that. We are putting resources into it, I think being very successful. I want to be very careful that this natural resources position does not entirely get roped into what would be talking forest biomass. I know that there is an overlap very clearly with water. We have staff that are working on that. They are achieving these things. They are seeing fuel reduction efforts, fire hardening efforts, forest restoration efforts, fuel management efforts, etc. What doesn't have a home in the county right now is specifically water in the built environment. I really think that needs to be a priority, and I think there's a practical reason beyond just aligning with our goals, is that much of that stuff in the long term, especially as a general fund supported position, a lot of that stuff is not necessarily going to be yielding a grant immediately that hopefully pays the bills. Now, some of those may be with the non-point solution or pollution grant. I don't know. I think some of these other ones where we're talking about the built environment and what's coming up in the water bond as an example, the water forestry bond and all of that, that is going to be stuff to not only ensure that the sustainability of this position and the work that you're doing, but seeing what happened with OES, potentially expanding that in a way that is sustainable and kind of standing on its own two legs. So I just wanted to bring that up. I'm not going to support approving this because I think it's premature to, just as the item is. So if we are going to a vote, I'm not going to vote for it. I think we need to do it afterwards just to make that clear. But thank you for bringing this up. And I would encourage too, I want to make sure that the SURF discussions for biomass stuff and everything with Robbie, as well as the YSS discussions we're seeing and kind of the feedstock analysis, that's all just together. And I don't know where that forum would happen, but to make sure we're not doing any duplicate work with that. Because I know that with the amended membership of Natural Resources, I still don't think it has necessarily those staff on that from the economic kind of development side. So unless they attend on their own, but thank you.
Supervisor Campbell, did you have comments?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just had a question real quickly, Mr. Hembry. Are any of the proposed Natural Resources Advisory Committee strategic goals or priorities, do they carry any additional cost or expenditure from the county to achieve those goals beyond what we've already budgeted?
I would say that it would have no fiscal impact, no direct fiscal impact, because as staff support, I'm writing all of that, and they are commenting, giving subject matter comments, but we have not utilized them to do any additional work, and there's no additional studies or requirements that have been necessary for that. It's been very adaptive and responsive to policies and legislation that's upcoming for those recommendations.
Okay. So I think the strategic priorities that you've outlined, I think they're good. I think they're consistent with what my understanding would be the direction and the goals of going into water issues and some of the work that you're doing. So, I'm comfortable supporting them.
Okay. I've got just a couple of comments here. One, tagging on to Supervisor Campbell, the fiscal impact, but, also with grants, obviously, they can involve a lot of staff time. So, caution, there just to make sure that we don't push things out of shape in a bad way. It's you can get a lot of money, but sometimes you have difficulty managing it. So, the other one was just a brief comment on the CWPP. There's a lot of people that are working on that. It's out for public review now. It's coming to an end soon. It's contracted out via the Fire Safe Council. It's a lot of good work has gone into this. I know Dory Beats from OES has been commenting on it. And that's important to have, because we literally lost out on some grant opportunities because we didn't have a current CWPP. So it's important, for some of these things that we stay on top of them. The only other thing I had here, you mentioned a couple of grants that were in process that have been applied for the BOR, Water Smart Applied Science, and the USDA Forest Landowner Support. A rough idea when you're going to maybe hear on some of those?
Yeah, thank you. I neglected to comment. Both of the grants we applied for will have a decision in the spring, so we'll know around about April if we were successful in our proposals.
Okay. Is there any, the grant's already been submitted, is there any follow-up that could happen to support that? Sometimes there's opportunities.
Yeah, I don't believe so. In terms of all those have not required any. Neither of those two grants have required a resolution from the board.
Correct. Okay. All right. Well, very good. At this point, then, I would. It's a little bit unusual just because we're looking at these priorities, but let's take it as a motion and go ahead and. Or do you have enough with consensus at this point?
I would recommend we table the item until February and then have it brought back.
Can I just clarify something for maybe Sean and us? We regrouped this conversation earlier in the year, so for us not to come together and come up with some priorities and objectives which align with current priorities, that's why it was here. So whether we vote on this today or not, it sounds like there's consensus that headed in the right direction, but I also sound like there was confusion, maybe, Supervisor Brandon. It's not just a water policy committee conversation, which is obviously the final say is at the board, but we still are natural resources. So when we're talking about MSA, we're talking about water, we're talking about fire, all those things kind of coincide. So I get that I just want to make sure you're clear, there's natural resources, there's water, some of them are going to be going out at the same time, some of them are going to be more specific. So it sounds like you want to weigh in more on the specific of water in February or in January.
I'm very clear. I wrote the resolution. So I know the membership and kind of the purpose with it. I recognize you're right that it has multiple things. I think what I'm talking about within water is if we're only talking watershed as watershed, forest shed, that the overlap is huge.
We're not. If you read some of the examples, it talks about our partners. I brought up the example.
Let me specify on that. So it mentions the partners, and I said I like where that's going. What I'd like to see is, but what are the goals we have? So yes, we support our partners. We offer letters of support as a basic threshold. But identifying specific issues like Jamestown Sanitary, so that to me is a strategic plan for the year where we might piece that together and say, what we really need is an engineered plan to expand capacity. That's a goal. And we haven't had a chance to discuss it. So I do thank you for putting it together.
Okay.
It's not opposition. It's only that we should do it in February.
Sure, and all I want to say to that is, if you were to go back to some of the meetings that we had, each one of these four probably had 20 examples. So what's in front of you was just a brief. There's a lot of it could go into depth, and that's why I brought up the keep it simple, stupid, because a lot of these could go into more depth, like you're saying. So in January when we have our retreat, if there's something very specific that we want to discuss, we can. Right. I just want to make sure we don't get too much in the weeds, because if we start pointing the finger at this specifically, then it shuts the door for potential things that come up.
And on the other side, I think the challenge of that is there are so many things with the limited resources and time we have. What are we prioritizing? Because we still have to prioritize specific things, and I guess it's probably selfish, but I want the thing on there that I really want, so that we have that space to be able to at least all compare notes and see what we all think. Right?
Then in January, we'll talk about the priorities and objectives, and we'll decide which specific things. But we also don't want to shut the door to potential general things that could come up that align with other priorities and objectives. So we're going back and forth. We agree. Okay. We both agree.
Yeah, just
well,
I'd like
to kind of wrap this up and say that I would recommend that we table this until after we've had our board retreat, and then come back and review and make some decisions so that we can prioritize.
I'll second that motion.
Yeah, so I don't have a problem with that. And, you know, when I was looking at the agenda item, it did say approving this, and so that's why I was taking that track before. So
just briefly,
I have a motion. I'm sorry, Supervisor Campbell.
I just had one brief question for Sean before. So are any of your activities going forward between now and then dependent on a decision today, or you can continue your work without?
Correct. Okay. There's no reason that I need direction for any active projects that couldn't wait until your board.
Okay. All right, then I have no other questions.
Okay, so I've got a motion, Supervisor Half, seconded by Supervisor Brandon, to table this until after our board workshop. We'll find an appropriate time to bring it back and discuss further. That time. Okay, so is everybody good with that, tabling that? I'll look for a vote on that portion, just to table it because of the way the agenda is written. We can do a thumbs up, is fine by me too. Okay.
Well, we're calling for a vote, so.
Yeah, we have.
Okay, so let's do the vote then. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Carries 5-0. Thank you. Okay, so reminder, I stated it earlier. That was our last agenda item. We're going to move into closed session. I'll just pull the board real quick. Do you guys want to do reports? If I can get your attention, please. Question came up regarding reports. Do we want to do reports? If they're brief, maybe we could do them now before the closed session. I have some interest. Supervisor Hamm.
It makes sense to do them now instead of after closed session. So I just have a couple of things. I reviewed the very large broadband strategic plan that was prepared for us by consultants, and you guys might want to do, we have a board meeting on it in February maybe. I reviewed it myself, and it took several days, and then reviewed it with Len. There are some problems with it that he's aware of, and I think he's put out something on the issues that need to be resolved. But I wanted to give you a heads up because it is quite lengthy, and you may have some questions as a result of reading it. So I want people, it's an important subject matter for me, so I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. And then the only other thing is I wrote a blog post for what was were that we accomplished in 2023, and it's up on mymotherload.com. That's it. Okay. Holidays came in.
Very good. Any other supervisor have a report they want to give?
I'll just make it quick regarding natural resources. Our group sent a letter to Service for the scoping of Cerro 2.0. We had a great conversation with folks, professionals who have gone through basically Cerro 1.0, lessons learned and how we might be able to do some things better moving forward. So we submitted that, spoke with Jason, had a great conversation regarding that. And then there's 128 of them throughout the United States, and apparently Biden's office put out an executive order to revitalize the all 128 forest plans regarding old growth. So the reason why I'm bringing this up to you guys is if you that resolution that I brought forth a couple of years ago about, more local control, rulemaking, all that stuff, this is an exact example of how through executive order, taking control out of local governments, local forest supervisors, local folks to come up with review plans and basically rubber stamp and say, this is how you're going to do old growth. So we are in the process of trying to understand what that's going to look like. It's an executive order, so it's happening. I'm sure there'll be more conversation that we'll bring before you guys in the future, but just kind of want to fill you in on that.
Supervisor Campbell.
Yeah. So the first thing I'll mention that I think will interest this board is that with Fire Safety Advisory Committee, which I serve on with Supervisor Goldenberg, we're working on workshops throughout communities in Tuolumne County where we run through a scenario of an emergency evacuation scenario. We did a first attempt. This is something that's been to me for a number of years, and we were able to accomplish one with OES and fire, law enforcement, other partner agencies in Crystal Falls last year. It was very successful. We had about 40 people show up. Just briefly to walk through how it works is it's essentially a workshop will educate members of the community in small groups about the process that they go through to prepare themselves for an evacuation, signing up for emergency alert notifications, that type of thing, preparing go bags. Then, after that brief workshop is completed, we put a big board up on the wall with a map of that community that we are in. And then we have a big red area on the community, and you say, okay, now the community, here's a map of your community. Where do you live? What are you prepared to do right now? And it has a really jarring and shocking effect, I think, on the people that participate. And it was really effective. The people that participated, I still get comments about it. Expand that, and so you'll be hearing more about that, hopefully coming in the pre-season. We're hoping to roll more of those workshops out throughout the county. So that's one element. I also participated in again, this is related to fire safety. Participated in the graduation ceremony for the Columbia College. I can't remember exactly what the name of the Forestry Corps group. That's right. They had their graduation. Supervisor Brandon was there with as well, and trying to develop a partnership between the county with that group and other groups so that we are able to get control of the unmaintained vegetation on county right-of-ways. There just is not, baseline no longer exists in Tuolumne County, and nothing has really stepped in to replace them except for private contracting of vegetation removal, which is extremely expensive. And we'll never get it done if that's the only tool in the toolbox. So developing either an internship program or some kind of county group that will address hazardous vegetation, I think, is critical, and it's something that we're working on through Fire Safety Board. A couple of good things.
Yes, very good. Supervisor Brandon.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I continue to be impressed with everything happening at Columbia College, and hopefully they know that I think we're behind what they want to do. They've got ideas, keep bringing them because it's helping us solve problems too. I only wanted to bring up one quick issue. We've had a waste issue within Main Street Jamestown, an account for the dumpsters and all that was paid by somebody who has since passed away. The long story short on that is we're investigating the idea of a business improvement district. These are self-assessed fees for property owners within a certain area to basically fix something. It can be used for promotion, it can be used to invest in your park, it can be used to cover municipal type services, and it is paid for by the businesses, but it's run by the businesses. So if you're interested in this for any of the areas that you represent in having some type of district like that, we're kind of looking through election happened, what's the process to approve, what's legal, and moving forward with it. This is a relatively simple one to basically just cover trash service on the main street, because it's one of the only areas in the county that does not, outside the county itself, have another entity that would be responsible, either the city or an existing association, or a community service district or what have you. So.
Okay. I pretty much, the one thing I was just going to mention is we talked about the fire and the graduation ceremony. A couple of years ago, I started a David Goldenberg Fire Scholarship at the college, and it's available there if anybody wants to. Firefighters don't have, so I'm trolling a little bit to help these firefighters out in the county, and my wife and I just put in an additional $2,000 into that scholarship. So, and I don't have anything further. If there's nothing from staff, we will go ahead. Thank you, everyone. What? Oh, I'm sorry. My apology, and appreciate the correction. If you could read our closed session, item 8.
Item number 8, closed session, conference with real property negotiators, price and terms, Authority Government Code Section 54956. Negotiators Tracy Riggs, County Administrator, Maureen Frank, Capital Projects Director, and David Del Secco. Property located at 20111 Cedar Road, Sonora, California, APN 044-420-042-000.
And thank you. Is there any public comment on the closed session item? Okay, seeing none, now we will recess into closed session.